Shalom, I'm Dr. Yasapa. Welcome to Astrotheology. This is the 28th. I think this is the 28th. Check the number in the video description. So welcome. We're going to get started. For those of you who are new, I'm Dr. Yasapa from Zion Law School. Welcome. We're going to read, examine, and discuss this very old book called The Devil's Pulpit. All right. So again, I'm going to read it. I'm going to discuss what we're going to decipher what the sentences and paragraphs mean because it's so old. This book was published in 1857. As those of you who have been with us from the beginning, you'll know that this was published in 1857. It's published from a series of sermons given by Reverend Robert Taylor, okay? And he was a secret society member, and he left the secret society because his conscience started bothering him, and he spilled the beans, basically saying that, excuse me, the Gospels, well, both Testaments, according to him, both Testaments are astrotheology. But he says specifically, primarily, the New Testament, the Gospels, all right? And there's no spookism in here. The book is called The Devil's Pulpit because those enemies of his who had him arrested and put in jail, these secret society members, labeled him as the devil's chaplain in order to turn the people against the Reverend Robert Taylor. It is a way to counter him telling their secrets. All right. So you can download this book for free, right? This is a free download. It's 341 pages. 341 pages. This is an excellent book. You must have it in your library. I strongly recommend that you print this book like I did and get it bound. See, print it and get it bound, and it's more easy to read, more easy for you to follow along. Also get your, a nice cover so you'll have it, it'll last. It's very inexpensive to do this, all right? But anyway, go ahead, go out and get it, download it, because sometimes we will get on sensitive stuff and the connection will be lost, y'all, will be disconnected. But if you have the book, you'll still be able to follow along. All right, but everybody, every Hebrew Israelite, every Israelite, every Yasharala man or woman should have a knowledge of this. This is knowledge that you must have. And finally, I'm not trying to change your mind or convince you to change your religion. I'm here to help you get this information. We are on page 169. We're on page 169, all right? So again, this is for educational purposes only. Let me check to make sure we have a connection, y'all, and then we'll get started. This is for education only. This is not religion. The Reverend Robert Taylor uses philology. He uses the Church Fathers' own writings. He uses history in terms of the Church Fathers' writings and the appropriate mythological stories. And he also uses contextual context, right? And of course, very, very heavily linguistics, etymology. That cannot be overemphasized. And then finally, astronomy or astrology, not horoscope, but the physical movements of the stars, okay? That's what he uses. All right, so let's go ahead and get started in 1 second. Let me just check to make sure we have sound. So give me 1 second. Uh-oh, that's not what I want. Give me 1 second, y'all. me make sure we have sound. If we got sound, we can get started. 1 second, y'all. All right, we got sound. Okay, I want to introduce Shara, who is going to read for us tonight. So, Shara, if you want to say hello, you can. If not, that's okay too. I don't know what you want to do.
Hello, everybody.
All right. Do I need to increase the size? Let me. I'm sorry. I'm losing my voice. Be patient with me. Hold on. Shara, can you see it?
I can see it, but not well enough to read it. It's very small.
Oh, expand, maximize it on your screen.
With those little dots in the top right corner.
No. You'll see like some squares in the bottom right corner. Make your YouTube, make the video full screen mode.
Oh, let me see.
And mute your YouTube. There's a backflow. Not mute your, turn off the speaker on your YouTube.
I don't have YouTube.
Turn up the volume on your YouTube because there's an echo.
Oh, wait a minute. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't see what you're talking about.
On your YouTube, turn off the volume.
YouTube? My YouTube.
I mean, turn off the sound. Turn off the sound on your YouTube. Turn the speaker off. Put it on minimum, the minimum setting.
Hold on.
You know how you make your speaker, you know how you turn the volume up and down when you're on YouTube? Put that all the way, turn all the volume off. And then the echo will go away. Okay.
Put it all the way down. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I still hear you.
Oh. Well, that's down. Is there still an echo?
No, there's no echo now. You're good. Excellent. Now maximize your screen.
I couldn't hear you. I had to turn it back up a little bit.
My goodness.
You said turn it all the way, turn it off, and I did, and then I just saw your lips moving.
Okay. Are you in the StreamYard? You should hear it in StreamYard, right?
I should, but let me turn my volume all the way down where I did it and see if I still hear you. Okay. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. Do you hear me?
Hello?
Yeah, I hear you. Can you hear me? I hear you.
Hello?
Yes, I hear you. I hear you.
Oh, yeah. So you heard me, but I didn't hear you. So I had to turn it back up. I don't know where to fix this. I'm
Okay, well,
sorry.
there's no echo now, so don't worry. The echo's gone. So maximize your screen, please.
Okay, it is maxed.
Can you
And
see it better now, or do I need to?
yeah, I can see it better, but this is, man, okay. I can see it, so, but that still isn't as clear as I
I'll
need it
make
to
it
be.
bigger for you. It's okay, don't worry.
Okay, that's much better. Yes. Are you talking? Because I do not hear you. Hello? Hello? I
Yeah,
can't hear you.
yeah. Can you hear me now?
Now I can.
All right. I'm trying to. We are on page 169. So let me put it on page 169. We're on 168. This is huge.
Yeah, that's good.
You have your reading glasses on?
Huh?
Do you have reading glasses?
I do, but these aren't my best ones. I broke my best ones, so these ones
For real.
they are if I didn't have these, it would be messed up totally. But
Oh, okay. Well, I can share the reading with you if you like. So you want to get us started? So, Shar, do you want to introduce yourself before, and I'm gonna make a little thing.
sure, my name is Shara and I oh gosh, what am I supposed to share besides my name?
You are. Go ahead. Say your name. I'll tell everybody about you. Say your name.
my
I'll put it.
my name is Shara. Well, Yosapa calls me Shara. He can say it however he wants to say it. I say Shara. He says Shara.
Yeah.
Um, well, that's my name, and
Okay. So, can I tell about your like what you follow? Not the organization, but what books you follow. Is that okay or no?
yeah, you can tell whatever you want.
Oh well, you say it. You say it whatever you want to be known. So just so people have an idea who you are. But if you don't want to, that's okay too.
Well, you mentioned what books I follow, or I hear an
Yeah,
echo too.
like
Can
you
you still
old,
hear that
new.
echo? I'm sorry, I hear an echo, and I think it's on my end.
Yeah. Are you
Yeah,
old? OT, NT, old?
huh?
Are you Old Testament only? Are you old and new?
Oh, let me get rid of this echo. I am Old and New Testament. Um, I am actually a member of
Don't mention
GOC.
your organization. Don't mention. You can just speak in general terms.
Um,
Are you a member of any Hebrew Israelite organization?
yeah. Yes,
Okay,
I
that's fine.
am.
That's good enough. Anything else?
I'm turning this down a little bit.
Well, you're welcome. You're welcome to say anything you want. Um, Differing opinions are always better than just the same opinion. So you're welcome to, you know, to give your opinion, okay, on the matter and how you see things. That's gonna make this really, really good, really, really good. If you're willing to do that. If not, that's okay. You can just read. It's up to you. Um, I think the important thing uh, is just that you're here and that you were brave enough to come on, right? And kind enough to help me. So thank you. I appreciate you. And come on, y'all, let's get started now. I'm gonna turn my camera off so I can focus. All right, Shard, do you want to begin?
Starting at 4.
Top of the paragraph, yes.
Okay. 4. So strictly conscientious was Judas to observe the law of God in all his actions, that though he might have made a much better bargain with the chief priests and sold his master for 10 times the sum, yet he so subdued all selfish and mercenary motives that he asked no more than the thing he had to dispose of was worth. That was £1 10, 30 pieces of silver, that being the price which God, in his infinite wisdom, was pleased to determine was as much as it the I can't see anything else because
Oh,
there's
what? Okay. Okay. I forgot. This is the first time I used it in like this big size font, one page view, as
well,
much as it was worth.
maybe you can make it smaller, a little bit smaller, and I can still see it.
Oh, can you see that?
I can see it, but there's still that big green thing
A big
uh,
green thing.
at the
Oh,
well, it's 506 the curses, Deuteronomy twenty-eight
okay. Let
fifteen
me
through
hide that.
29.
How about that?
Oh, now, okay, it's gone.
All right. Okay.
Um
30 silver, 30 pieces of silver, that being the price which capital God in his infinite wisdom was pleased to determine was as much as it was worth. So the 10 pence, the pound 10, if I remember correctly, the author a few pages ago said that there was one shekel per day. In February came up to be 28. And if it was a leap year, it would be 29. And I didn't understand what that was about because it wasn't 30. And this pound 10, uh, someone look up pound 10 in 18, let's say 1800s. Let's see what this, it has to be, I'm assuming that this is the equivalent of 30 pieces of silver or maybe even 1 month's wage. All right. So when we go back up, the author is talking here. He says at the beginning of the paragraph, for strictly conscientious, for so strictly conscientious was Judas. So in this case, the author is saying something good about Judas' character, right? He was a conscientious person. Okay, strictly conscientious. Well, we have to see where the author is going with this. And then we see, I'm assuming that this is Judas in Greek. So strictly conscientious was Judas to observe the law of capital God in all his actions. Okay, so in other words, Judas is following the law, that though he might have been made a much better bargain with the chief priest and sold his master, this would be the Christ figure, for 10 times the sun. Did you notice that, Shara? S-U-N?
yeah. What does that mean?
S-U-N.
Just more money?
Sun is the sun in the sky.
Okay. I
Because
was wondering if it was a play on something else or okay.
the author is saying that in the secret societies, the Christ figure is the sun. He's the S-U-N and the S-O-N.
Okay.
This is what he asserts.
Okay.
Yet he so subdued all selfish and mercenary motives that he asked no more than the thing he had to dispose of was worth. That was 1 pound tenths. All right. So this author, I guess I should warn you, he can be very, very sarcastic. Okay. So some people might be offended. This book was, like I said, he made these sermons in the 1800s. And the situation was that he had a falling out with the secret society members, right? And they had him locked up under false charges. And he managed to get out of jail. And in return, those secret society members branded him as a devil, the devil's chaplain, to try to get back at him so that people wouldn't listen to him. So he's got clearly he's got some anger issues going on as you read this because of the sarcasm that you see. But anyway, do you want to continue? You ready?
Sure.
All right.
Okay. And that Judas was actuated by no motives of malice, ill will, or unkindness against our blessed Savior, but quite the contrary is proved by the fact that when he came to, I'm going to read it as it
To
is, but
Jesus.
I know you know how I feel
Okay.
about this, some of
Oh,
this stuff.
you
So,
want to say JC? It's okay if you say JC.
huh?
It's okay
What'd you
if you
say?
say JC, whatever you're comfortable with. Yeah.
I'm comfortable reading what's on the page. So,
Okay.
um, but let me start over. And that Judas was actuated by no motives of malice, ill will, or unkindness against our blessed Savior, but quite the contrary is proved by the fact that when he came to Jesus in the last interview they ever had, he said, "Hail, Master," and kissed him. And Jesus seems to have kissed him in return, as the words of the sacred text are. And Jesus said unto him, "Friend, wherefore art thou come?" Which in ordinary parlance is neither more nor less than, "My dear boy, how do you do?" Than which nothing could be more affectionate. So that it seems they clapped their beards together and slobbered like I'm sorry. Yeah, he's kind of sarcastic. Okay, they clapped their beards together and slobbered like two cupids in a valentine. Jesus said to Judas, "Friend."
Okay, thanks. So scholars, my opinion is that the author is making the point that Judas didn't have any bad motives, right? That's my opinion. Um, but let's see how the author develops his claim. Did you want to make any comment on that, or do you want to keep reading, Shar?
I have some comments, but I don't know if this would be the time. I probably shouldn't break up the reading.
Oh no,
Um,
go ahead. No, that's how we do it. That's how I do it every time. I comment as I read.
And then I'm so sorry. My daughter walked in and said something to me, and I only got a piece of what your commentary was. Can you repeat it, please? I'm sorry.
Okay, it's okay. So, so I commented here, and that Judas was actuated by no motive of malice. So, in other words, Judas didn't have any ill will toward the Christ figure. That's what the author is saying, in my opinion. That Judas was actuated by no motive of malice, ill will, or unkindness against our blessed Savior, but quite the contrary. So, in other words, the opposite of that, scholars in the audience, would be he had good motives, right? But he had good motives, or but quite the contrary, is proved by the fact. So, Judas having had good motives is proved by the fact that when he came to JC in the last interview, the last discussion that they ever had, he said, "Hail, Master." All right, and he kissed him. Now, uh, this can be debated, I think. I don't know if that's enough evidence to prove that he had a good motive. You know what I
That's
mean?
what my commentary would cover. Yes, I would debate that.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. But you know what's fun about this kind of thing is when you read a book like this and you start to get into the author's mind, right? And think critically about what the author is saying. Because when he wrote this, he thought about what he was writing. Most authors don't just sit down and throw something together and they don't think about it, right? They've thought about it either while they're writing it or they thought about it for years and years and years and then they wrote it. But there's a lot of thought in this. So when we go back and we look at this critically, we can really see what's happening with that author in his head and really make an assessment about the quality of his arguments. You agree or disagree?
Um, I can agree with that. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So, you have anything else you want to say about this before we go on?
Um,
But this is the other thing. The author is saying because of the way the Christ figure also greeted him, right? They greeted each other in terms of affection. But I know Christians, or let me rephrase that. If I use the wrong title, correct me, okay? Hebrew Israelites and Christians look at this as though Judas was tricking the Christ figure. Is that correct?
Yeah, I believe that's correct. Not tricking him, but feigning his devotion to him for the
Okay.
moment of his betrayal.
And the Christ figure just went along with it, right?
Yes, because it's
Okay.
not like he didn't know that would
Okay.
happen.
Okay. So now we've concluded that we disagree with the author's assertion here, y'all. Is that right, Shar? We disagree with that.
I disagree with it. Yes.
I disagree too. He didn't make a strong enough case there. Okay, let's continue reading.
Okay. We're at the okay. Now, I would only ask what right our Christians have to give their blessed Savior the lie and to charge him with the disgusting hypocrisy of calling Judas his friend if he really took him to be his enemy. And if he really took him to be an enemy and only called him friend, ironically, why did he not suit his action to his word so that the one might have interpreted the other? And when the fellow thrust his dirty beard in his face, give him such a ringer in the chops as would have shown decidedly what sort of friend he took him to be.
I need to read that again because I was distracted. Hold on, Sharp, please. Roderick's point of view says, welcome. Shalawama, welcome, Roderick's point of view. Good to see you back, my brother. Good to see you back. You mind if I read it again?
Oh, no, go ahead.
Okay. Now, I would only ask what right our Christians have to give their blessed Savior the lie. What right our Christians have to give their blessed Savior the lie, and to charge him with the disgusting hypocrisy of calling Judas his friend. Oh, I see what he's saying. He's saying the fact that the Christ figure is calling Judas his friend when the Christ figure said to him, "Friend, wherefore art thou come?" The author is saying that was hypocritical. Yeah. And to charge him with the disgusting hypocrisy of calling Judas his friend. Yeah. If he really took him to be his enemy. Okay, I understand. I didn't pick, I was confused at first. All right. So he's saying the Christ figure was dishonest, no, a hypocrite, because he sees Judas as an enemy, not a friend, but he called him a friend. Okay. And if he really took him to be an enemy and only called him friend ironically, why did he, that's the Christ figure, not suit his action to be his word? Well, that's a good point. So that the right one might have interpreted the other. I'm sorry, so that the one might interpret the other. In other words, so that his actions would be clarified by his words, and his words would be clarified by his action. Okay, I got that. So that the one might have interpreted the other. And okay, all right, I got that too. Right? I can determine your action from your word, and I can determine the words from your action. And when the fellow thrust his dirty beard, that's when Judas thrust his beard out to kiss the Christ figure in the face. Why didn't the Christ figure give him a ringer in the in other words, when this enemy came to give him a kiss, why didn't he punch him in the mouth? As would have been shown decidedly what sort of friend he took him to be. In other words, tell me if you agree that he saw Judas as being a liar and his enemy, somebody who's going to try to have him killed. Why didn't the Christ figure punch him in the mouth? That would have been more authentic behavior, or instead of hypocritical behavior. Are you understanding his point of view that way also, or?
Oh, I definitely understand his point of view, but I know, well, I'm not here to preach, but I know why that happened, or my view of why that happened.
Oh, go ahead and share it. Go ahead and share it, because we're criticizing the author, critical thinking. So go ahead and share, please. I mean, I'm so happy that you came in because you follow the Gospels, and so we have a really great opportunity to hear things from someone's point of view who follows the Gospels. You know what I mean? So this is going to be a very rich lesson for people who come either today or in the future who get to hear this. You know?
Okay, well, just skimming back over it so that I can follow each thing that he said in this paragraph. Um, I wouldn't agree that it was a disgusting hypocrisy of calling Judas his friend, because one being a friend to the other doesn't mean that the other is a friend to the one. I'm your friend, but you don't treat me like a friend.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and being that he knew what he had come to the earth to do, he wasn't fighting it. And he knew that everything he was doing was leading up to that. And like I mentioned, it wasn't like he didn't know that Judas would betray him. So when he said friend, to me, it's not such a lie or hypocrisy for Christians or whoever to give their blessed Savior, the lie, because it didn't necessarily have to be a lie just because Judas was betraying him. Um, so I don't think
Can
it
I
was
ask you a question?
ironic.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Okay, so in terms of are you talking about what the Christ said, or what the Christians or gospel followers, or the reason why the Christians or gospel followers don't see it as being a hypocritical or a lie? Like, for example, let's say you call your enemy your friend. So we just looking at it like literally from that point of view, because I kind of got confused with who you're talking about.
Well, I was initially talking about the author making that statement, and I guess I was leading into the fact that just because he called him friend doesn't mean that um, he was being hypocritical when Christians or anyone portrays him as being ironic or being a hypocrite because he called Judas his friend.
Mm-hmm.
Because him calling Judas his friend is could be more of a light shed on how he was to him, how Judas was to him, or versus how he was to Judas. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
No,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't
Yeah, I
make
mean,
sense.
no, I hear you. I hear you. Isaiah says, Shalawama Islam. Shalawama Islam. Islam.
Shalom.
All right.
Um, and as far as suiting his action to his word, he didn't necessarily come to fight what he came to do, which was, you talk to a Christian and to someone who follows the gospels. He knew what he was coming to do, so he wasn't fighting against it.
Mm-hmm.
So he wouldn't have he wouldn't have necessarily hit him, saying, "You dirty scoundrel, you're here betraying me, and you know it, and I know it. So here, take that." Why would he do that if he wasn't trying to stop what was leading up to happening to him? So yeah, I disagree with what the author is saying in that paragraph.
Okay. So the Christ figure was just going with the flow.
Yeah.
All right. All right. I could appreciate that. I could see your point there. All right, let's go to the next paragraph. No.
Hold on. What's that?
No, we're at the bottom of the page. It says,
Okay, I
and
had
the
to
next
turn
paragraph.
that up.
Do you want me to read
Yes.
it, or do you want to?
If you want, you
Yes,
can,
right.
because that green thing came up again, and it's pretty. It covers a nice portion of the reading. So.
Oh. Okay, let me take that off. All right, how about now? Can you see it? Why my screen is black? Can you
Mine
see the
is
document?
too.
What's going on? Let me read. What's going on? I have no idea what's happening, y'all. Let me try to share it again. I don't know what happened. Let me share it again. Be patient, scholars, please. I have no idea what happened. Shar, are you there?
I'm here. Yeah.
Okay. Wow, that was something. Okay.
It's
You're here.
back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, read, please.
Okay. And how could any two persons on earth be more decidedly shown to be friends than Jesus and Judas, as not merely exchanging such affectionate salutations as, I thank God, are out of fashion in the civilized world, sitting at the same table and dipping their fingers together in the same dish. For knives and forks and spoons are infidel inventions, but cooperating but but cooperating in the same great counsel of infinite wisdom for the redemption of mankind. I'd ask you to read that again because I need to hear some of that again to
Yeah,
understand it better.
this is difficult reading, isn't it? But
Yeah.
the parts that he starts to describe the constellations and the movement of the constellation and all it, that's really difficult reading, really difficult to understand. The really good thing, scholars in the audience who are viewing, the good thing about this is Shara has a master's degree in, I hope you don't mind me telling, in English. So y'all getting it good because she knows how to do all of this stuff, right? She
Obviously.
no, she's very good. No, this is tough. This was written. These lectures were given in like 1810, 1820, 1830, then compile into book form in 1857. So the whole way they speak is completely different. So a person who's expert in English, teaching English, in reading, writing. So I think everyone in the audience, this is a treat for you, right? Okay, so let's continue. Yeah, this is a blessing for us to have you here. And how could any two persons on earth be more decidedly shown to be friends than Jesus and Judas, as not merely exchanging such affectionate salutations, hello, 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 as I thank capital God, are out of fashion in civilized world. So I think he's saying people don't say that, right? People don't normally say this in his day. So they must have been good friends in order for them to go like this. I think this is his sarcasm coming on, right?
Yeah.
Sitting at the same table and dipping their fingers together in the same dish. So he said they must be friends. They sitting at the same table. You don't eat with your enemies. You definitely don't dip your fingers in the same dish with people who you don't like. For knives and forks and spoons are infidel inventions. So I guess what he's saying here is that they didn't use knives and those type of utensils back then. But cooperating in The same great council of infinite wisdom, I guess that would be the 12 of them, right? The 12 apostles and the Christ figure, for the redemption of mankind. So I guess the point he's trying to make is that they were friends because they were eating at the same table, out of the same dish, dipping their fingers. And how you can't get no closer than that. I guess that's what he's saying. And enemies don't eat together, let alone out of the same dish.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he's saying. Anything to say, or do we move on?
No, I'm just giggling at his sarcasm because I really don't like sarcasm, but it's kind of funny because it's not directed at me. He's just this is him, letting us in on who he is and how he is. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Excellent, excellent. You want to continue?
Sure. Okay. And as for the betraying of Jesus being represented as a crime or a disgrace or a shameful act in Judas, it is the most egregious and monstrous misrepresentation of the matter. That folly itself could have been so foolish as to have dreamed of. You're gonna have to finish your supper. My grandson just woke up, and yeah, if I can put him back down, I'm gonna stay right here and just put him in my arms. Basically, I'm gonna try to rock him back to sleep, but I'll let you I'll let you finish the reading.
Okay. So scholars, this is a big claim the author is making. This is a big claim. He says it's a monstrous misrepresentation of the matter. That what Judas Iscariot did was a crime, that it was disgraceful and a shameful act. Now, this is a big claim because they kicked Judas out and then they replaced him with Matthias, I believe it was, right? And then Judas lost his life behind this. Okay. All right. So next paragraph, let's see how the author develops this. Next paragraph.
Okay. Oh, okay. Go ahead.
For to betray Christ was so far from being a dishonorable, disgraceful, or wicked act that there was not one of the disciples but was anxious to do it. I don't understand that. For to betray Christ was so far from being dishonorable, disgraceful, or a wicked act that there was not one of the disciples but what was anxious to do it. Did you understand that sentence?
Yeah, I think he's saying that if it was such a horrible act that um that was done to Judas, like his death, then if it was so wicked, then why didn't one of those other disciples jump to the occasion to kill him for what he did?
Okay.
I think that's what it's saying.
Okay, good. So I'll continue. So that when Jesus said, "Verily I say unto you, that one of you shall betray me," they were all on the scramble in the moment to obtain the honor of doing it. I know what he's talking about now. And the cry was, quote, capital L-O-R-D, is it I? Quote, capital L-O-R-D, is it I? End quote. But the Christ figure was pleased to settle the dispute in favor of Judas by saying, quote, he is it to whom I shall give a sop when I have dipped it in the pan, end quote. And when he had dipped the sop, he gave it to Judas Iscariot, the son of Simon. That is the son of Simon Peter. Wow, that's a big thing too. The author is making the claim a couple pages ago that Judas Iscariot is the son of Saint Peter, Simon Peter. He goes into a discussion as to why that's so. I think we covered that last class or maybe the class before. I don't remember. But anyway, he makes that claim too. Okay. So that is the son of Simon Peter, which accounts for Simon Peter being so envious of his son Judas being promoted before him that he could never speak a good word of him afterward. What is he talking about, Shar?
Oh, all of that just threw me off quite a bit. Maybe if I had more insight into what he said in the other chapters or pages that you pointed out, I would follow better. Because I do follow the New Testament, and that's not how the story went, from what I know from the part in the New Testament that I read. So it kind of threw me off a little bit.
So what is sop? He says it is whom I shall give a sop. What does it say in the modern Bibles? What is sop? SOP, y'all. If someone can in the chat, can you look up sop, SOP, and put it in the chat for us, please? Let's see. Let's check out these comments before we get going. Isaiah says the author is making a defense for Judas because Christians called Judas a betrayer when the Christ figure called him friend. Okay, good point. I can see that. Good point, Isaiah. Very good. Let's see if there's another. Let's see. Isaiah continues to say, did the Christ figure view Judas as a betrayer or enemy, or did he view Judas as a friend? And is it only the Christians who view Judas as a betrayer? That's a good point. I like that okay, I think that is the author's argument. All right. Yeah, excellent point. Excellent point. Gary Tucker says scapegoat. Gary Tucker says scapegoat. Okay, so y'all help us figure this out, y'all, because I don't know what to think of this sentence here. I'm gonna read it again, okay, Shara?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It says here, let me put the highlighter on it so everyone in the audience know where we're at. I'm gonna start reading from good thing I did this because the paragraph wasn't showing. I'm gonna start reading from here, y'all, from the highlight, okay? I'm gonna start reading from there. It reads, he is it to whom I shall give a sop. That's SOP. Could somebody Google that and find out what it means, please? When I have dipped it in the pan. So the Christ figure is going to give the guilty party who's going to betray him a sop when he dips it in the pan.
And that may be part of his sarcasm, because as far as I know, sop is kind of like, what you can do with a biscuit as you scoop the gravy on it and bite the biscuit?
Yeah.
I could be wrong.
Okay. Yeah, well, let's see. And when he had dipped the sop, he gave it to Judas Iscariot, the son of Simon. That is the son of Simon Peter, which accounts for Simon Peter being so envious of his son Judas being promoted before him that he could never speak a good word of him afterward, and which was a literal fulfillment of that prophecy of Christ, in which he said that he was come to set the Son against the Father and the Father against the Son. So Simon Peter, when he found that his son Judas Iscariot had got the 30 shillings, no, that's kind of wrong. I'm sorry to laugh, sure. I'm laughing at this audience. I mean, not audience, at this author. Y'all see that? His father was mad that his son got the 30 pieces of silver for turning the Christ figure in. That's what he's saying. and which was a literal fulfillment of that prophecy of Christ, in which he said that he was come to set the Son, S-O-N, against the Father, and that the Father against the Son. So Simon Peter, when he found that his son Judas Iscariot had got the 30 shillings, was so vexed that he went out and wept bitterly and cursed and swore that he would never be reconciled to his son anymore. That's a whole heck of a lot of sarcasm, ain't it?
Yeah.
I hope it didn't offend you. You know.
Who, me?
Yeah.
No, it didn't offend me.
So what he's saying is, Christ's figure made a prophecy that he would turn son against father and father against son. And Simon Peter is Judas Iscariot's father. Judas betrayed the Christ figure before Peter could. Both of them wanted to get the 30 pieces of silver. So the author above was saying that all of the apostles probably wanted to get that 30 pieces of silver. Remember when we were talking about that paragraph? That sentence?
Above?
Yeah, okay, I'll read it again. For to betray Christ was so far from being a dishonorable, disgraceful, or wicked act that there was not one of the disciples but what was anxious to do it. So I'm taking this as meaning that all 12 wanted to get that 30 pieces of silver to turn them in to get some money. Now, this is not scripture. This is the author's opinion. Maybe he's being sarcastic, right?
Well, no, I'm sure that has some validity to it. I just can't, the story is not in front of me right now, and I don't remember it to the T, but I do know that I'm not sure if it was just Judas that is highlighted in the New Testament as saying earlier, why are we this? He feigned being interested because, oh gosh, what was it? Why is this money that we have here, wherever they were at that time, we're doing this with it, whatever they were doing, we could be using that money to feed the poor. But my understanding, I'll have to have it in front of me, and we're doing this now, so I'm not doing that. He was saying, why are we all this money we're using, or we're doing this with that money, and this money could be used to feed the poor. But really, it was never his intentions to feed the poor. He wanted the money for himself, or it could have been they wanted the money for themselves. But because I can't remember which of the disciples, if it was Judas or if it were a few of them, and they maybe start bickering about what in the world, that's a waste of money. And so they were upset, and which led to Judas actually betraying, the Savior. They were mad. They got mad. They feigned like they were mad when really they just wanted the money for themselves. I think that's covered in the New Testament, I think. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay, excellent point. And I'm going to continue with that with the next sentence. So that when the Christ figure said, "Verily I say unto you, that one of you shall betray me," they were all on the scramble in the moment to obtain the honor of doing it. In other words, they were all on the scramble to be the one who would betray him. And the cry was, capital L-O-I-D, is it I, da, 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 da. And then it goes down to the sentence that we were reading. He is whom I shall give a sop, S-O-P, when I have dipped it. Okay. All right. So I see what he's saying. I see his point. Let's see, what do we have? Jerice, let me put your comment up. It says, this teaching. Jerice says, hello, everyone. Shalawama, Jerice. Gary Tucker says, thing given or done as a concession of no great value to appease someone whose main concerns or demands are not being met. That's the SOP, SOP. Gary Tucker, what's that? That's the meaning of, okay. Okay, so let's go back into it. Thanks, Gary Tucker. Could you please clarify that for us, please? All right, let's continue. So this is quite a revelation or accusation, or that Simon Peter was the father of Judas Iscariot. Y'all can go back and watch the last one or two videos before this one, and you'll see the author's evidence for that. Okay, next paragraph. Nope, we're still on the same paragraph. We need to. Sure, where were we? Oh, okay, I see. And which was a literal fulfillment of that prophecy of Christ, in which he said that he was come to set the Son against the Father and the Father against the Son. So Simon Peter, when he found out that his son Judas Iscariot had got the 30 shillings, was so vexed that he went out and wept bitterly and cursed and swore that he would never be reconciled to his son anymore. So they were all about the Benjamins, y'all. It was all about the money. So I don't really know what to say about this paragraph.
Can you remove Mr. Tucker's his last point he made, because it's covering the
Okay, all right. Yeah, I'm not sure what to make out of this. I mean, I see what the author is saying, but it's just so. Oh, you get rid of that comment, okay. Gary Tucker says there's two definitions. The other is biscuit and gravy. Sure. Thank you, Gary Tucker. You're right. Sop means biscuit and gravy. The reason why I'm going with that definition is because the Christ figure said he was going to dip it in the bowl. So it had to be something that, some food, right? So the food of the two is the biscuit and gravy. So the Christ figure dipped the biscuit in gravy and then gave it to Judas Iscariot. Excellent. Thank you, Gary Tucker, for giving us that info. Okay, Char. Are you with us?
Oh, yep. So where are we now?
Yeah, we're still trying to figure out how much of this is sarcasm and how much of this is relating to the story. I think from what I read, the author makes a strong case that Simon Peter is Judas Iscariot's father. Well, no, man, I say strong, reasonable. But I'm not sure I don't think all of the apostles wanted the money. So I think he might be being facetious or exaggerating or sarcastic on that part. But then I don't know, because I mean the author has said some things that I'd never considered before, right? So maybe Peter was upset about that he got the money. I don't know. We can only just imagine because nobody knows. But anyway, what were you gonna say?
Who, me?
Yeah, nothing. Or can we go forward? Or you have?
No, we can go forward.
All right.
If you hear snoring, it's my grandson. I'm sorry.
Okay. So should I read, or you want to read?
You can read.
Okay. All right. For how could a greater partiality be shown to any man than by almost giving him the very victuals out of your own mouth, or out of your mouth, helping him to the choice bite or bit, sopping up the gravy of the dish, and reaching your hand over the table, dish and all, to afford him the advantage of licking the grease off your fingers. I never thought about that. I never thought about that. All right. And there can be no doubt that our blessed Savior's fingers were purer than all the silver spoons in the world.
This guy, oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. Thus Judas, thus Judas was elected to the honor of betraying Christ. And by coming up a very crisis when otherwise his virtue would have failed, pushing him on when he wanted to push off, and getting him in for it when he wanted to get out of it. He was actually the meritorious agent and the very hinge and pivot on which the whole chance of our salvation was on the swing.
Can you move up the push up the writing for the screen? Or do I have mine too big because it was off screen what you just finished reading?
Oh, yeah, I was on a different page. My bad.
Yeah.
Let me go ahead and show it. So I think we should discuss this paragraph.
Yeah.
Because
This is kind of
one that
funny.
needs to be
I mean, it's
reread.
cool. I'm enjoying this. I really am.
Oh, excellent, excellent. I'm happy to hear that. For how could a greater partiality be shown to any man? In other words, how could you show a man more favor? How can you show that you like him more than by almost giving him the very food, victuals, out of your mouth? Okay. Christ figure said it is the one who he gives the food to, right? Helping him to the choicest bit. Okay, so now we know that's he's exaggerating here, right? We know that. Helping him to the choice bit, sopping up the gravy of the dish. Thank you, Gary. Right, that's the biscuit. Okay, and reaching your hand over the table, reaching over the dish and all, to afford him the advantage of licking the grease off your fingers. In other words, the Christ figure leaned over the table, leaned over all the food, and put it in Judas Iscariot's mouth with his hands.
That's weird to me. I mean,
Yeah,
it's not weird. It's just not how I've read the story, but which it's neither here nor there because people pick up things and, interpretations, I guess. I never saw it as happening like that. But doesn't mean it didn't. The way I read it is that they're all sitting there eating, whoever is dipping their biscuit in the little thing that has the gravy, this one, and then that disciple and that other disciple does it. And then when back up farther, when he says, well, the way I read it was, whoever dips their hand in the dish as the same time as I do, then that's the one who's gonna betray me. And I'm paraphrasing, and that ends up being what happened. But this way the author is putting it out, that's interesting to me. The grease off his fingers and all of this. It's just it's
Here's a quote. Verily I say unto you. Can you see the cursor? Verily I say unto you that one of you shall betray me. Right? And then they all scramble for the moment. Capital Lord, is it I? Is it I? Right? Then the Christ figure was pleased to settle the dispute in favor of Judas by saying, quote, this is what the Christ figure says. He, or that is the one who will betray me, he is it to whom I shall give a sop. See that? When I have dipped it into the pan, or when I have dipped it. So according to can someone check this, y'all? check that verse and cut and paste it, please, in the chat for everybody to see, right? So in other words, was what the author said written in the in that verse during his time in the 1800s? Did they change it now, or is it still the same? If somebody would check that for us, please. All right. So let's get back to it. That'll give us some clarity, right? Because according to the version that the author is quoting, it was the Christ figure who dipped it and then put it in his mouth, or at least gave it to him, right? Or at least maybe he took it with his fingers. I don't know, right? Maybe Judas picked it up with his hands. Maybe they passed it by the hands, Shar.
Yeah.
But it's open to discussion, right? Because it's unclear. So what we would have to do, I guess, is consider what people did back in those days. Because you got to be pretty close to somebody in order to do that, right?
Well, can I read it? I don't know all the pasting and stuff, and you know where I'm reading it from. This is, well, you do, but maybe everyone else doesn't. This is like the KJV, and at verse 22 of Matthew chapter 26, and they were exceeding sorrowful, and began every one of them to say unto him, Lord, is it I? Verse 23, and he answered and said, He that dippeth his hand with me in the dish, the same shall betray me. And that's just our modernized version, of what it said. So I would be interested in knowing in the 1800s what
let's check it. I'm gonna check it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna check it. Can you give me the verse?
Me?
Yeah. That was
Matthew chapter 26, verse 23.
Matthew 26, verse 23. So let's start with the famous Bible Hub. And then we'll go to the 1500 Bibles and see what we can see. Well, actually, maybe we can even see something as we scroll down. So y'all, I'm going to share my screen. We're at Matthew 26, verse 23 in the Bible Hub. So of course, we will want to also look at this in the other Gospels, right, scholars? Darrell-El says from the pictures that depicts the event, they all seem a little feminine looking. Yeah, I would agree with you on that. Gary says in astrology, 30 pieces of silver equals the moon phases within a month, the silver moon. Now that's an excellent point. That's an excellent point. This is astrotheology that we're dealing with. So that has some meaning. So let's go and check. Can somebody put in the chat the book, chapter, and verse of the other of this verse in the other Gospels, please, if y'all don't mind doing that, so we can square this out, so we can see what's happening here. So this is Matthew 26, verse 23 in the Bible Hub. So let's go through this real quickly. The one who has dipped his hand into the bowl with me. So I'm saying with me. I'm not gonna quote y'all unless I find something. Then I'll tell you what Bible verse. The one who has dipped his hand in the bowl with me. So I see with me. So far, everything is with me. So if it's not in Matthew, maybe it's in one of the other Gospels. Or,
Probably.
yeah, or it changed in the more modern Bibles. So hopefully someone in the audience, one of the scholars will check these. So I see with me, with me, with me, with me, with me, with me. So all of these are saying with me. So let's check additionals. I'm going to jump all the way down to the 1500s, okay? Let's jump down to the 1500s. Okay. So let's start with the Geneva Bible. It's with me. Bishops is with me. Coverdale is with me. Tyndale is with me. All right. So in Matthew, they're all with me. Sharp, what about Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John? Is this worth continuing to flesh this out, or should we just go back to what do you want to do? You want to flesh this out?
Yeah, I mean, I would if you want to. I don't mind. I started looking for it in Mark, Luke, John,
Okay.
I don't know that I would be so quick to the app I have, I put in I forgot what I put. Oh, is it I? I put that in so that it would look up that phrase. So I don't really know what it
That's the
was.
Last Supper, right? That's the Last Supper.
Yeah. Yep. I don't know. I would think
So
that it's
Mark
in the other ones,
14.
but none of the other ones are coming up. Is it I?
Let's see, Mark 14.
Oh, Mark 14 and 19. Okay.
That's what it is, Mark 14 and 19.
Yeah.
They were saddened. Okay.
That's with me also. Well, in the King James, that's with me. So
That's Mark 14, 19.
mm-hmm.
Mark 14.
19, 20. Yeah. 20.
Is it 19 or is it 20?
20.
All right. This is fun, isn't it?
Quite interesting.
Yeah. I hope y'all in the audience find it fun. I hope it's probably more fun if y'all were here in the in the studio with us, but this is fun. Okay, Mark 14:29, right?
No, Mark 14 and 20.
Mark 14 and 20. Okay. So I'll fix it. Mark 14 and 20. Can you see it?
Yep.
All right. So Mark 14 and 20, it says, "It is one of the 12," he replied, "one who dips his bread into the bowl with me." So I see with me, 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 with me. Okay. All of these are with me also. Can you check Luke while I'm doing this?
Luke probably doesn't say "is it I" because that's the phrase I use to find it in Matthew and Mark, and it stops at Mark. Doesn't look like there's anything in Luke or John that says "is it I." So it would be said another way if it's in Luke or John. So
Try just typing Last Supper.
Last Supper.
Yeah. Let's for example, Luke Last Supper.
Well, I'm on this app, so I don't think Last Supper is going to come up.
All right. Okay. I thought you were on Google.
No.
So all of these are with me, y'all. So let's go look at the 1500s. See what we find.
Let's see.
Geneva with me, Bishops with me, Coverdale with me, Tyndale with me. So it is not in Mark. All right, so we need to find it in Luke. Luke Last Supper. All right, so let's see. Luke 22, 7 through 38. I'm not going to read all of that. Let's see. I should be able to find cup, right? Yeah. So 17, after taking the cup, he gave thanks and said, I'm going to tell you. No, that's not it. So there's one more. He dipped it into the cup, or was it the bowl?
I'm not
He
sure.
dipped it into the bowl. No bowl. Does it say bread or biscuit? I don't remember. I don't remember. I haven't looked at this stuff in so long in the Gospels. Let me see. Did you find it in John?
I'm still looking.
All right. Oh, I should do betray. What am I thinking? Betray. All right. Okay, 21. But the hand of him who is going to betray me is with mine on the table. Now, that's something completely different. Let me read it from 20. In the same way, after the supper, he took the cup, saying, the cup is the new covenant in my blood, which is poured out to you. 21. But the hand of him who is going to betray me is with mine on the table. That's different from the other Gospels, right?
Yeah.
The Son of Man will go as it has been decreed, but woe to the man who betrays him. So this is something completely different than what we saw in Matthew and Mark. Everybody see that?
Well, wait. I'm gonna advocate for.
Oh, no, go ahead. Of course, that's why I wanted you here. So yeah, to have that other point of view, that makes the discussion more rich. Go ahead.
Well, and I'm not opposed to people advocating for whatever they are advocating for too. But the hand of him who is going to betray me is with mine on the table. It's just as simple as, to me, it still could be saying we're dipping our biscuit in the gravy at the same time. Both of their hands are still on the table. Everybody's hand is on the table unless they're in their lap. You know what I'm saying? And maybe I'm taking it too far.
I hear you. But if that's the case, then this sentence would not have any meaning, though. Would you agree?
It wouldn't have any what? I'm sorry.
Meaning, because everybody's hands on the table. It doesn't identify any one person if everybody's hand is on the table.
Well, it's him. It's him who is going to betray me is with mine on the table. Mine on the whatever the gravy is in. His hand is with mine on the table. Like I said, I pictured people dipping, the different disciples dipping their, for lack of a better term, dipping their biscuit in the gravy at different times. They're just having a good conversation, eating, and nobody maybe was even thinking at that time when it happened, and maybe they were, that, oh goodness, he said whoever is going to dip their hand in the same time as he does on the table, because everybody's hand is on the table, but maybe they're not all dipping at the same time on the table. You're just talking, eating Thanksgiving dinner. Well, ooh, that was a horrible example. I ain't Thanksgiving, no. But well, yeah, you get what I'm saying.
I hear you, but from my point of view, that's reading into it, to be
And it
honest.
might be. So yeah, okay. I can, like I said, I'm open for people to be, say something different.
Because I think in Matthew he said who dips, right? Was it?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and that's different. Okay, so Matthew says, and the Christ figure replied, "The one who has dipped his hand into the bowl with me will betray me."
Mm-hmm.
That's different from what we just read in Luke, and in Mark. I forgot the verse. Uh, in Mark, it says, "One who dips his bread into the bowl with me."
Mm-hmm.
And
It
now
does.
Luke is saying, "The one who will betray him is the one whose hand is on the table with mine."
Yeah.
So for me, that's different, substantially different. But let's see, what
Okay.
does John say? Oh, go ahead. What'd you say?
Nothing. I was just saying okay.
Let's see, John, Last Supper. I don't know what's going on in the chat. Hey, y'all, are we boring, y'all? Let me know.
Because
Do
they
y'all
might be
want?
like, move on.
Yeah. Let's see. Darrell-El made a comment. He says T for T. Darrell-El, what does T for T mean? Sorry, I don't know. I don't know. Um, I don't know what it means. T for T, he replied, "The one who will enable my enemies to seize me is one of you who is dipping bread, MTY, into the sauce in the dish along with me."
Yeah.
WEB, he answered, quote, "He who dipped his hand with me." Excellent. John Tucker, thank you, Darrell. John Tucker writes, all right, let me get that. John Tucker writes, John chapter 13, verse 27, "And after the sop, Satan entered into him. Then said the Christ figure unto him, that thou doest, do quickly." Oh, what happened? How did that happen? Hold on, y'all.
I like
Uh,
that part too. Whatever you gonna do, just go on and do it. I'm ready.
yeah,
That's
but
how I see it.
Gary's comment disappeared. Let me find. Hold on. Okay. All right. So I found it. "That thou doest, do quickly." Satan equals confusion of the lower mind. Entered Judas. After the sop, Satan entered into him. Shar, do you want to read that? Or is that good enough? John 13:27, since you like that one.
Read it in, you mean in the Bible?
Yeah, if you want to. If it's because you like that one.
Oh,
Yeah.
John 13 and 27. And after the sop, Satan entered into him. Then said Jesus unto him, that thou doest, do quickly. That's
Okay.
it.
Hmm. No, excellent, excellent, excellent. Isaiah says, Jerice says, "Everything is great." Thanks for that, Jerice. Appreciate that. Isaiah says, "I don't see how any of those scriptures pinpoint any of the disciples." I can also see that point.
You mean
Dora,
except Judas or just none in particular?
oh, direct your question to Isaiah, so he can respond.
I think that was Mr. Tucker who said that.
Well, no, I think that was Isaiah. So Isaiah says,
Oh, you're right. It was.
I don't see how any of those scriptures pinpoint any of the disciples. What pinpoints it, Isaiah, is when he put the Christ figure, gave the sop to Judas, put it in his mouth or put it in his hand. The author is saying from a cultural point of view, he would have reached across the table and put it in his mouth. But that's the author reading into it, right? Maybe he put it in his hand or put it on a plate, or I don't know. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. Darrell-El writes, remember they asked who was the one to betray him was not clear. Right, that's why they asked the question. Good point, Darrell-El. Remember, one account they thought Judas went take care of business and left early. Yeah, that's true. That's true. All right. Good point. Good point, Darrell-El. Good point, Isaiah. Excellent. Excellent. Gary Tucker writes, so Judas had no idea of doing anything to the Christ figure until after the Christ figure gave this the sop. I can see that. I can see your point. So the Christ figure instigated Satan entering Judas. Now, this is along the reasoning of the author, in my opinion, Gary Tucker. So good comment. Isaiah writes, none in particular. Yeah, I can see that. Isaiah continues, I am speaking of the scriptures you just read out of Matthew, Mark, and Luke. Yeah, you're right. You're right. They were non-specific, and the only specific thing was that the Christ figure, or at least according, he who dips his hand in the cup or puts it on the table, that identifies Judas. Let's see, Isaiah writes, John is more specific on the matter. Yes. Yes.
And then so I don't know. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm wondering, let's go back to the PDF. I'm wondering how this was written in the 1800s, because the author is saying that the Christ figure put the sop in Judas Iscariot's mouth.
Yeah, that was weird to me. I mean, I'm not saying it couldn't be. I'm just saying I have never seen that anywhere.
Yeah,
I haven't read it anywhere.
I never saw it either. It reads here. Let me read the paragraph. You want to read the paragraph, or you want me to?
You go ahead.
Okay, so here's the paragraph in question, y'all, about how this may have been written in the 1800s, beginning at the highlight. Oops. For how could a greater partiality be shown to any man? That means you do something that shows that you like that guy so much, than by almost giving him the very victuals, the food out of your mouth, helping him to the choice bit, sopping up the gravy of the dish, and reaching your hand over the table, dish and all, to afford him the advantage of licking the grease off your fingers. That means he put it in his mouth. And there can be no doubt that our blessed Savior's fingers were purer than all the silver spoons in the world. Okay, so in other words, ain't nothing wrong with it, right? Okay, he's being sarcastic with that. Thus, Judas was elected to the honor of betraying Christ, and by coming up a very crisis when otherwise his virtue would have failed, pushing him on when he wanted to push off. In other words, Judas was foreordained to this. He had no will in the matter. He was gonna be the betrayer, and that's it. That's the way I understood that as I just read it. And getting him in for it when he wanted to get out of it. He was actually the meritorious agent and the very hinge and pivot on which the whole chance of our salvation was on the swing. Now, he has to prove this to me because I don't know what he's talking about right here. Do you, Shar?
Not right offhand.
Judas Iscariot was the very hinge and pivot on which the whole chain. Oh, I know what he's talking about. He's talking about because unless the Christ figure gets sacrificed, unless he gets caught, arrested, and sacrificed, there be no salvation.
Mm.
That's what he's talking about. So I got that. All right. That's very interesting. Very, very interesting stuff. Very interesting stuff. Okay, so let's continue. It is the grossest absurdity then to talk of our being saved through the merits of JC, the Christ figure, when upon coming to read the gospel for yourself, you shall see that if there were any merits in the business, they were on the merits of Judas Iscariot. So let's see how he develops this, y'all. Let's see how he develops. Now, I've never thought about this way. I don't know if any of the scholars who are watching right now, I don't know if you all have ever thought about this, but I can say I never thought about this way. That's why I like this author, even though, you know, I may not or you may not agree with him. He still causes you to think in ways that you have not thought before, which is good. It's really, really good. It's good mental exercise. Okay, next paragraph. Did you have anything you want to say, Shar, before I continue?
No.
Okay. And as for the peculiar merit of dying for us, that is so far from belonging to Christ, that it is peculiarly and exclusively the merit of Judas. Did y'all hear that? Judas died, right? But so did the Christ figure. But focus on what the author is saying here. And as for the peculiar merit of dying for us, the author is implying that Judas died for us. And as for the peculiar merit of dying for us, that is so far from belonging to Christ that it is peculiarly and exclusively the merit of Judas. I got to hear what I have to hear this, Shar. He got my attention now. Let me see how he's going to develop this. Judas Iscariot is the only one spoken of in the gospel whose death was matter of his own choice. That would be suicide, right?
That's right.
And therefore, that's Judas Iscariot. Therefore, Judas Iscariot's death was the only death which could, by any possibility, be conceived to have merit in it. Oh, I see what he's saying. Well, let's continue. It is evident that the Christ figure would not have been hanged. Y'all hear that? Did y'all just hear that? Would not have been hanged if he could have helped it. But Judas hanged himself. So now, is he saying hang as in hung from a tree, or hang as in death, killed? Because Judas was not hung, right? There are two different stories. Let me Google this, okay? Where you at, Shar? You okay?
Yeah, I'm okay. It's interesting for me too because I want to hear the different sides. But as far as I know, as far as what I've read, what I've been taught, what I've read, Judas hung himself, like, and I'm guessing from not necessarily. I guess people hang themselves.
There's another one where it says he jumped off a cliff or something like that, right? Yeah, there's another story, maybe in
Go ahead.
Maybe in the Acts of the Apostles. We'll check it, where Judas jumped off a cliff and his intestines fell out or something like that. So let's look at this account in Matthew 21. Matthew chapter 27, verse 1 through 10. I'm going to do a search, okay, so we can save time.
Yeah.
So I'm going to look for hanged. Yeah. Okay. So this was what, Matthew 27? I forgot. Yeah, Matthew 27, verse 5. So Judas threw the money in the temple and left. Then he went away and hanged himself. Y'all see that? So in Matthew 27, verse 5, Judas hanged himself. Let's see. Let me do a Google search. Judas intestines burst. Let's see, what verse is that? Acts 18, yeah. Can y'all see my screen?
Yes.
Acts chapter 1, verse 18. While the payment, this is New International Version, with the payment he received for his wickedness, Judas bought a field. There he fell headlong, his body burst open, and all his intestines spilled out. So in Matthew, Judas Iscariot was hanged. And in Acts chapter 1, verse 18, Judas Iscariot fell off, looks like he fell off a cliff.
Now, wait, it didn't say anything about falling off a cliff, did it? It just said he fell.
Well, he fell off something.
Yeah, couldn't he fall from hanging? He had a bad, he didn't hang himself properly, or he hung himself. I'm gonna be in favor of whatever the Bible says. But I mean, I can see a person not being successful at hanging themselves, quote unquote, the right way, and they fall.
Right. How far? Okay, so he fell. Let's say he hung himself from a tree.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then the rope broke. And he fell down and his intestines fell out.
You think so? You don't think it's possible, or
what? Huh?
Sounds kind of far-fetched, huh?
A little bit, yeah, but maybe he hung himself real high. Maybe
of course, yeah, it's possible.
Yeah, but that's the fun about this, right? Because we don't know, we can discuss it. Maybe instead of being 10 feet off the ground or 12 feet off the ground, maybe he climbed up like a huge mango tree, and he was 20, 30 feet off the ground. I don't know. But in any event, he burst open. So this one does not. How about we say this in Acts chapter 1? It doesn't make a direct reference to hanging.
Right.
Okay.
It does make a reference to the field, though. Now, it doesn't. I'm reading. I try to keep everything, try not to take one thing out and just run with it. Try to read it like when I can, when it's possible, like a like a stream of thought that's more straight. He purchased the field with the reward of iniquity, and falling headlong, he burst asunder. He purchased a field, and right after that, he fell headlong. So, what does a field have? And I'm not trying to say he did it. This one is saying he did it from a tree, also. I'm just saying if there's a field, I would think that there were trees in it, because it was talking about him buying a field, and then he fell headlong, or with the reward of iniquity and falling headlong, he burst asunder in the midst, and all his bowels gushed out. Just trying to follow it rationally along, like he bought a field and then he fell headlong. How could that happen? He fell from and the only thing I can think of, because of the knowledge of the other gospels and what they said, or at least one of them that we just read before this one, he hanged himself, and just thinking it was from a tree because he bought a field. What's in fields? Trees, Okay, go ahead.
Okay, excellent. I'm going to go through some of the comments. Darrell-El writes, Maybe that was a cultural practice in that area at the time. I think he's talking about the Christ figure giving the food. Isaiah writes, could you read the scripture that Gary Tucker posted out of the book, John chapter 13, 27? Can you read that, Shar? Please. John
John
chapter
13 and
27.
27 says, and after the sop, Satan entered into him. Then said Jesus unto him, that thou doest, do quickly.
Okay, you have a follow on, Isaiah. Darrell-El writes, they both were hung on a tree. Okay. Darrell-El writes, give me 1 second so I can read this. His intestines fell out because he was hanging for a long period of time. Okay, excellent.
Oh, interesting.
It is interesting. Darrell continues, now this man, with the reward of his evil doing, got for himself a field, and falling head first, came to a sudden and violent end there. So how, I'm trying to square this. How is it that he hung for a long time? If you consider what Darrell just wrote, which is the verse you just read, Acts 1:18, right? Now this man, well, the concept, right? Now this man, with the reward of his evil doing, got for himself a field, and falling head first, came to a sudden and violent end there. If I remember correctly, didn't Judas give the money back to the priest in the Gospels?
No, he tried to, and they
And
were
they
like,
put it
we
in
ain't got
treasure.
nothing to do with that anymore. We don't care, because he was giving it back because, oh my gosh, I had my friend killed. And they like, what that got to do with us? They wouldn't take it. Well,
Okay.
according to the, King James Version.
Okay. Darrell writes BB translation. So what I just read from Darrell, that was the BBE translation. Darrell continues to write, someone killed him. Oh, someone killed Judas. Okay. All right. All right. Actually, that's my first time hearing that when someone killed Judas. Gary Tucker, someone is not really betrayed when we know about it in advance, and if we allow it to happen like the Christ figure did, then it implies the Christ figure had a reason for allowing it to happen. Well, I have to agree with that. Well, wait a minute, I don't know. Let me rethink that. Someone is not really betrayed when we know about it in advance. What do you think, Shar? You agree with that, or you
Well,
disagree?
I just pulled up the one definition of betray, and it says expose one's country, a group, or a person to danger by treacherously giving information to an enemy. So I don't know if that addresses. I was just looking it up. That's one definition of betray, and another one is unintentionally reveal, be evidence of, as in she drew a deep breath that betrayed her indignation.
Hmm. Darrell writes, you can't commit violence on yourself. Remember that joke? Who was it back in the day? Remember that comedian? He said he was gonna whoop his own. You know what? He kicked his own. You know who was that? Jim Carrey. You remember that
I
skit?
don't know, but I don't know who it was, but I remember it vaguely.
Yeah. Darrell writes, in BBE translation, violence is done to someone by someone else. Yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree with that. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Let's go back to let's finish getting that work in. I'm enjoying this very much. You brought a lot to the presentation, Shar. So I want to say thank you. I'm having a lot of fun right now. All right, so what are we going to say about but Judas hung himself? What are we going to conclude about this? He hung himself? Do we agree with this, with the author, or do you agree?
I agree he hung himself. I do.
Okay. For me it's unclear. He hung himself in the others, but in Acts I did not specifically see hung. I would have to go back to another book. So I'm just going to go what's written on the page. It's unclear to me how he went out in Acts 1:18. Okay, so as Saint Peter and the other gospels, as Saint Peter and the other apostles, in the fifth of Acts of the apostles concur in a direct contradiction to the accounts of each of the four gospels by declaring that the Jews, let me repeat that, by declaring to the Jews, not that they had crucified the Christ figure, which capital God knows they never did, but that they slew him and hanged him on a tree. Wow. Which is quite as true as the other story. The author is saying that Judas was hung on the tree, and so was the Christ figure. Is that how you're understanding that?
I was trying to understand it. I was reading over it again.
Strange fruit. Well, you want to read the paragraph aloud or no?
Yeah, let me try. As Saint Peter and the other apostles in the fifth of the Acts of the Apostles concur in a direct contradiction to the accounts of each of the four Gospels by declaring to the Jews not that they had crucified Jesus, which God knows they never did, but that they slew him and hanged him on a tree, which is quite as true as the other story. Oh my goodness. I would have to read that probably a few more times. Wow. Oh, I don't know. What are you saying, Yasapa?
I'm saying that Judith, and the Christ figure were both hung on trees. That's the way I understood it.
That's what you get out of this paragraph?
Yeah. So he referenced Acts chapter 5.
Yeah.
And
Acts chapter 5.
Acts chapter 5. Can you give me a keyword so I can Google search it? Or, well, I tell you what, I'm just going to show it and we can read it. Maybe it's faster to just do it that way. Let's see what's happening with this. Let's see. Let's go to the comments first. Okay, so we have a few comments. Let's go through these. Okay, so Gary Tucker says Matthew 26, 1 and 2. Shar, could you check that out for us and read it for us, please? Thank you, Gary. Darrell-El says we are having conflicting info on how Judas died. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Roderick's point of view writes, if the author was a part of the Masonic order, he may have had access to writings we don't. Now, that's a powerful point. That's a powerful point. Speculation, but it's very probable, right? Right? All right. Gary Tucker writes, excellent Roderick's point of view. Gary Tucker writes, this chapter and verse clearly indicates that JC foretold to the disciples of the betrayal. Therefore, how could Judas be a betrayer? JC knew in advance. I see your point. And also to your point that Judas Iscariot was foreordained to do it. He was foreordained to do it. Does that make him a betrayer? Right? He didn't have a choice in the matter, if you look at it that way. But let's see. Darrell-El writes, who is they that slew Judas? That agrees with BBE translation that Judas died by violence done to him. That's deep. Y'all see what this is showing? He died by violence, he died by hanging, and he died some ambiguous death in Acts chapter 1, verse 18, where his intestines spilled out. So was he what did they call it? I just said it a minute ago. Strange fruit, right? Was he strange fruit the way they used to do our ancestors? Okay, where they would get you, burn you. Okay, did they barbecue his intestines? And I'm not saying that to be funny, I'm being for real. Because y'all know they would barbecue people, right? So they're barbie. No, really. Why would they barbecue you if they wasn't eating you, right?
Oh gosh.
So
Okay.
think about that. Think about that. Why would they barbecue you? And we know that they have a history of cannibalism. Now I know I'm speculating, but everybody has seen the pictures where they you see these charcoal bodies. And we know that they used to chop off the body parts and the male penis, right? They pickle them and do everything. So if they were picking up, if you pickle something, that means you're going to eat it, right? Right? They wouldn't pickle it just for decoration. Darrell-El writes, A1 steak sauce. Yeah, we know they have a history of cannibalism. Jerice says, man, this is awesome. All praises, Jerice. All praises. Thanks. But you know what's making it awesome? All of the comments, that's what's making it awesome. All of these comments. Imagine when people come back and they read this, how much they're going to get out of this when they look at all of your comments, right? But this is powerful stuff. I never thought about Judas, what's his name? Judas from all of these angles, let alone the death between the Christ figure and Judas, right? The similarities and which has a value and which I just never thought of it this way. Isaiah says, yeah, and disembowel those they hung. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Roderick's point of view writes, yes, here in America, blacks were eaten and skin used for bags and things. That's right. Y'all know that they were using the woman's vagina as like a coin bag, also the man's scrotum for coin bags and purses. Yeah, that's what they did. Disgusting. And also leather book covers. Okay, so all right, so let's go back to the PDF. Y'all know y'all can download this PDF for free. If y'all haven't gotten it, make sure y'all get it. The Devil's Pulpit by Reverend Robert Taylor. Everybody should have this in their library, even and print it off.
Well, Yasapa, one of the scholars had put up Matthew's, and I forgot what the chapter was, but you had asked me to get it, and we never went to it.
Matthew 26. I think it was 1 and 2. Let me check to make sure. Yeah, Matthew chapter 26, verse 1 and 2.
Okay. And it says, and it came to pass when Jesus had finished all these sayings, he said unto his disciples, ye know that after 2 days is the feast of the Passover, and the Son of Man is betrayed to be crucified.
Wow. So crucified, hung on a tree. Judas is hung on a tree. So which is it? Was Christ's figure hung or was he crucified? I think that's his point. Is that your point, Isaiah?
I think he was talking about betraying, like,
oh, okay.
Who can who can be betrayed if the person already knew that? How can you say it was betrayal if the person knew that they were going to be betrayed? I think that was that person. I can't remember who put it up there.
Right, right. Oh, that was Gary. That was Gary. Darrell-El writes, our hair was used in textile industry too. Yes, yes. Jerice writes, what? Never heard about that. Wow. All right. Excellent, excellent, excellent. So let's get back to it. This is really some good stuff, y'all. I mean, this is some good stuff. All right, let's get back to it. Let me
Um,
mhm.
I just wanted to. I dang, I keep forgetting everybody's name, but and I don't know if this will matter, but I looked up. Well, we just read the 1 and 2. The Son of Man is betrayed to be crucified. In this tense right here, betrayed actually just means to be to surrender or yield up, entrust, transmit. So I guess betrayal can have different um definitions, I should say. And it doesn't necessarily all the time mean, and I'm looking in the concordance actually.
So is betrayal one of the etymological meanings, or is that the English rendering?
I'm sure that's the English rendering because I know you
So
done went deep into it.
yeah, so betrayal is a poor rendering of the Greek word. Is that correct?
Maybe so.
So what's the meaning of the Greek word? Can you repeat that again?
Um, to surrender, for example, yield up, entrust, transmit,
Okay.
and then a
So and
host of others.
what was the
Uh-huh.
last part you said?
Transmit.
What was the last part? The last one.
Oh, well, there's more. It says betray, bring forth, cast, commit, deliver, deliver up, give over, give up, hazard, put in prison, recommend.
Okay. So betrayed was one of them. So, but it could be Judas Iscariot made him available to, gave him up to, right? What was the transmitter, of the Christ figure, whatever, however you could use any one of those, y'all, to render that word that you want. You can use any one. So if he's just the transmitting utility, then it's a very different meaning than betrayal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. So next paragraph. So here is saying that the Christ figure was hung on a tree, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. So both Judas and the Christ figure were both hung on a tree. So uh, let me read this again. As Saint Peter and the other apostles in Acts chapter 5 concur in a direct they agree in a direct contradiction to the accounts of each of the four gospels. So this is a contradiction, right? Acts is contradicting the gospels by declaring that the Jews, not that they had crucified Jesus, which they know they never did, but they slew him and hung him on a tree. So the gospels are saying that the Jews killed the Christ figure, crucified him. But in Acts, the book of Acts is saying he was hung on a tree. So there's a contradiction. And we also have a contradiction or an apparent or seeming contradiction, or should I say contradiction? Well, there's some there's some things that are not clear about how Judas died. Did he die by violence? Did Judas die by violence? Did Judas die from hanging? Or did Judas die because he fell from something high and his guts spilled out? You see the point I'm trying to make? In both stories, in the Gospels and in Acts, both stories are different. They're different.
Where is it? I'm sorry. Where is it in Acts chapter 5 that he's relating to the other accounts, the accounts in the gospel, I guess?
Well, he doesn't relate. Well, we'll go back to it. He doesn't relate to it. It just says he was hung from a tree. But
In Acts chapter 5?
Yeah, I'm going to show it again because I still have it open, I think. Yeah, I still have it open. I forgot. Let me do a search for it because I forgot where we saw it.
Yeah, I think tell me if you find it, but I think the author is relating Acts chapter 5 to the fact of, the whole situation of Judas using the silver and doing it, afterwards to betraying Yeshua or Jesus, whatever. And this story in Acts chapter 5 is about people feigning to be bringing all that they had to the priest, I guess. I don't know. I'll have to read it, but I'm pretty sure this story is about people saying, here, we have all of this to share with all the people, because everybody was bringing stuff at that time to, sharing amongst each other to help each other. They came, Ananias and Sapphira, and said, here it is, this is everything we have, but they lied and they kept some back for themselves, and they ended up dying for that lie. If you read that whole Acts chapter 5.
So you're saying that the author's citation is not correct? Is that the point you're making?
No, I think he's trying to relate what those two did, Ananias and Sapphira, to somehow to what Judas did.
So where did we just see where the Christ figure was hung from a tree? We just looked at that verse, right? I don't remember where we saw it.
If it was in Acts 5, then I'll take back what I said. But
no, it's okay. It's okay. I just don't remember. I'm going to read through it and try to find it again. I'm going to Google search it. Okay, Acts chapter 5, verse 30. Let's
30,
see.
okay.
Can y'all see my screen?
Yep.
Y'all see it? Okay, we're in Acts chapter 5, verse 30. Verse 30, Acts chapter 5. Well, do you want to read it or you want me to read it? Oh, wow. It says, then the capital God of our ancestors raised the Christ figure from the dead, whom you killed by hanging him on a cross. So now we got to go to the Bible Hub. That's Acts chapter 5, verse 30, right?
That was 29.
Oh, that was 29.
Oh, wait. Nope, you're right. You're right.
Okay, so Acts 29, 30. I gotta stop the share and so I can show it. Give me 1 second, I'll pull it right back. I'm gonna get to the comments in 1 second, y'all. Let me pull up the Bible Hub and then I'll read off the comments. Is this the Bible Hub? I think that's it. All right. So let's see what we have. Okay, so so we see New International Version, New Living Version. It says capital God of our ancestors raised the Christ figure from the dead, whom you killed by hanging him on a cross. New Living Bible says the capital God of our ancestors raised the Christ figure from the dead after you killed him by hanging him on a cross. English Standard Version reads, the capital God of our fathers raised the Christ figure whom you killed by hanging him on a tree. Berean Bible Study says hanging him on a tree. Berean Literal Bible says having hanged him on a tree. KJV reads, and hanged on a tree. New American Standard Bible reads, by hanging him on a cross. Are we starting to see something here, y'all? NASB reads, to put to death by hanging him on a cross. Also on a cross. Amplified Bible says hanging him on a cross. Christian Standard says hanging him on a tree. Holman Standard says hanging him on a tree. American Standards hanging him on a tree. All right. Contemporary English Bible doesn't say either one. It says, but the capital God of our ancestors worshipped, raised him to life. Dawei Ream said hanging him on a tree. Good News says a cross. International says he was hung on a tree. Literal Standard Version says he was hung on a tree. New American says he was hung on a tree. NET says he was hung on a tree. So all the rest says that he was hung on a tree, except for the Weymouth New Testament, which says he was crucified. So Shar, how do you square this? What's happening?
You mean talking about whether it says let me make sure I get
well, see, why is he hung on the cross? Why is there a discrepancy between whether he was hung on a cross and hung on a tree? Given the context of what the author is talking about, Judas Iscariot is said to have been hung on a cross, and Judas Iscariot offered up his life. Christ figure did not. The Christ figure just went along with it, right? That's the story. That's what the author is trying to say. Remember, the topic is here where the highlight, it says, and as for the peculiar merit of dying for us, that's what the issue is right now. That's the argument.
Oh.
Right? Who died for us? The author is saying Judas Iscariot died for us. All right. And as for the peculiar merit of dying for us, so who died for us? Who gets the credit for dying for us? That is so far belonging to Christ that it is peculiarly an exclusive merit of Judas. So the author is saying that the Christ figure didn't die for us, right? He was put to it. He was chosen to do it, so therefore he did it, right? But Judas, according to the author, willingly gave up his life, right? Suicide. Judas Iscariot is the only one spoken of in the gospel whose death was a matter of his own choice. And therefore,
I get it now. I mean, I'm understanding what he was saying. I don't agree, but I do understand what he was saying. I don't see Jesus.
Well, because remember when the Christ figure was on the on the cross or on the stake or being hung, he said the words, what were those words? I forgot the words. Well,
the Father forgive him? Or
no, it was sabotage. What was it? Something like that.
Oh, Eli, it's Sabathani or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. And then he says, "Why have you forsaken me?"
Oh, there's so much to say about that, but
yeah.
Well, okay.
No, go ahead.
Oh, are we talking about that, or are we still talking about him?
Okay. So yeah, so the author is saying that Judas Iscariot willingly gave up his life, but the Christ figure didn't.
Oh, see, that's what I
Labotani
disagree
or whatever
about.
he said at the end, huh?
Yeah, that's the part I disagree about. Um, I mean, if you follow the train of thought of the certain way that you'll read the Bible, he didn't have to die. He willingly did that, just like, yeah, Judas did too, because he did that, as far as I see it, to himself. Yeah, and so did Jesus. He didn't do it to himself, they did it to him, but he went along with it, and he didn't have to. That's, yeah, to put it simple. Yeah,
Okay.
he didn't have to. He knew what he came for, but he could have. And we read about I mean, if you read the King James version, we read about when he was just like, please, if there's any other way, talking to the Father, let this cup pass from me, because he didn't want to do it, but he knew what he had come to do, so he did it.
So okay, excellent. So here's what the author is saying. Let's see if he's going to develop this point or how well he will develop this point. The highlighted part says, it is evident that the Christ figure would not have been hanged if he could have helped it. But Judas hanged himself. So remember the Christ figure when he said, "Take this cup from me, if it be your will, take this cup from me," something like that. I think the author has that verse in mind also. So unless you have anything to say, I'll continue reading.
Oh yeah, go ahead. But right now you have up the Bible Hub thing.
Oh, thanks. All right. Oh, I got to get to the comments. I forgot. let me go to the comments first. Uh,
Comments, yes.
Jerry says snitch. Yeah. Darrell-El writes, if you have a family member that is a crackhead, is it betrayal when you know he would steal your stuff? Hey, Darrell, not only will he steal it, but he'll help you look for it, right? Did you ever hear, Shar, you ever hear that joke by Tracy Morgan? I think it was about a crackhead. Maybe it was his aunt stole his wallet or something like that. And then he says, well, the aunt was helping him look for it, right? And then he figured out that she stole it. And he said to his aunt, maybe I'm getting the joke wrong, but he said to his aunt, well, why you steal my wallet and you sitting here helping me look for it? And then the crackhead aunt says, well, I had to eliminate myself as a suspect.
That's crazy.
Okay, so let's see. Jerice writes, that's what I hear. And Roderick's point of view writes, unfortunately, there are many conflicting stories in the Gospels. And I think Roderick's point of view, I think and sure, I'm sure you probably disagree, but I think what happens with the Christian and Hebrew Israelite gospel followers, and I'm not talking about you, Shar, I'm talking about the organizations. They explain, I think they compete for the best explanation as to why the difference is there, and then to smooth over it to make it look as though there's no difference. And then they call that doctrine.
Oh wow, I've never heard you put it that way, Mustafa. That's pretty good.
That's really my opinion. That's the truth. That's really what I
Well,
think.
hey, we all got it. If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything, right?
Right. Okay, so we're here at the highlight. For be it remembered that the flattest and most palpable contradiction. Somebody just mentioned that. That was Roderick's point of view. That the flattest and most palpable contradictions that can be put into words are no contradictions in Scripture. So, in other words, he's saying that there aren't any contradictions in Scripture. It's a contradiction in itself. Well, this is Jeremiah 8:8, right?
Can you pull down Roderick's point of view, Yasapa? It's covering up some of the
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. All right. Okay, so for be it remembered that the flattest and most palpable contradictions that can be put into words are no contradictions in Scripture. Thus, no sincere Christian doubts or can doubt not only that Judas Iscariot hanged himself, but that he absolutely did not hang himself. And that's the contradiction, right? Repeat that. Thus, no sincere Christian doubts or can doubt not only that Judas Iscariot hanged himself, but that Judas Iscariot absolutely did not hang himself. And that it is equally true that he returned the money for which he betrayed his master, and that he did not return the money. Okay, powerful points, and explaining that is the doctrine. Okay. You want to read, Shar?
Sure. And the disciples of Christ could never doubt that he was crucified, dead, buried, and gone to hell, even at the very moment when he was as much alive as we are at this moment. And asking them what they had got for supper, as on that interesting occasion he said to them, "Children, have ye any meat?"
I'm curious. What's your point of view on this? Because, or do we need to keep reading?
I'm still trying to figure out what he's saying. It takes me a minute sometimes. So he's saying that Christians, are saying, okay, they'll on one hand they'll say that he's been crucified, he's dead, he's buried, and he's gone to hell. Even at the very moment that Christians will also say that he's very much alive as we are at this moment. And then asking them, Christians, what they had got for supper, as on that interesting occasion he said to them, "Children, have ye any meat?" How about you try to explain that to me, Yasapa? At least
The
that.
only way I can explain it is that he was dead in the flesh, but he was alive.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
I guess this is me being one of those Christians he's talking about, because
Yeah. I'm glad you said it, not me.
yeah, because I mean, hey, I can say he was. I'm not saying. Well, first of all, I wouldn't say he's dead. I will say he died, but
Uh-huh.
I will say he rose and he lives. But when I say he lives, it's not like you and I in the flesh right now. So I guess that's me doing that Christian thing, but it makes perfectly good sense to me. I mean, it's not contradicting to me. And if somebody somebody can easily say, "Oh, there you go with that stuff," but I mean, we all die, and I guess I would look at us the same way. We die, but that's our body. Who knows what we are without this body? And I just happen to believe that we are what we are.
That's who we really are, whatever we are when this body dies. That I don't feel like I'm contradicting myself though. Um, yeah, that's just me.
Okay, okay, all right, very good. Gary Tucker writes, there's very little contradiction in astrology or astrotheology, but trying to make these celestial events into human characters is quite difficult and inconsistent. And Gary, I think that's the author's point also. So I like the way you stay on point, Gary. Excellent, excellent work. Excellent. I think I definitely think that's what the author is telling us. So let's continue. Let's pull it. Let's pull it back up. Okay. So shall we continue?
We shall.
Okay. So here. So continue, please.
Me
Sean.
or you?
Yeah. Read.
Oh, okay. So, nothing incompatible with the character of historical consistency has ever yet been observed by the childish understandings of the 40 and 50-year-old babes in Christ Jesus, in the circumstance of
I'm
peace.
sorry.
You know his sarcasm.
Yeah.
I know I can just tell by the reading that he's being sarcastic, but I would still have to read it again to really get it. That's why I hate sarcasm. Hate it. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me start again. So,
All right.
nothing incompatible with the character of historical consistency has ever yet been observed by the childish understandings of the 40 and 50-year-old babes in Christ Jesus in the circumstance of Peter, a Jew at Jerusalem, preaching to the Jews, telling them what the name of the field was in the Jewish language, that it was called in their proper tongue Alsodama,
Mm-hmm.
Alsodama,
Mm-hmm.
but as their proper tongue, their native language was a language that none of the natives had ever heard of. He kindly condescended to translate it into plain English. Asildama, that that is to say, the field of blood. Yeah, I can't even touch that. I don't know what this guy is saying.
Let's go through it.
Yes,
Go
let's.
through it.
Because I know you're going to get to the bottom of it yourself.
Yeah. 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 I'm gonna try. Okay, so nothing incompatible with the character of historical consistency. So nothing incompatible with the character of historical consistency has ever yet been observed. Nothing incompatible with the character of historical consistency. Nothing incompatible. Okay, so the opposite would be what? Comparable with the character of it. So is he saying that this is not historical? So nothing incompatible with the character of historical consistency. Can only be two options, right? It's either historical or it's not. Nothing incompatible. So he's saying that nothing is incompatible with the character. So it is compatible. All right, so it's historical. Let's just go with that train first. Has ever yet been observed by the childish understanding. So nothing incompatible.
Who are these 40 and 50-year-old babes in Christ?
You know, the babes are the babes and the Christian babes. The grown men and women that come in as babes,
And
right?
they ain't observed nothing. These 40 and 50-year-old people, whoever they are, babes in Christ Jesus, I guess he's saying they're babes and they haven't observed even in their childish, oh my gosh. I don't know. I don't know.
No, what he's saying, let's figure this first line out. So nothing incompatible. So there's nothing incompatible. That means it's compatible, right? Everything is compatible with the character of historical consistency. That's what he's saying. Has ever yet been observed by the childish understandings. Let's condense this, okay? Let's just say by Christians. Has ever been observed by Christians, okay? So nothing incompatible with the character of historical consistency. So that is saying, I think this is saying that everything is historical, right? Everything is historical. Let's just see how it plays out. Everything that we observe about these Christians is historical. Let's just continue with that line, okay? In the circumstance of Peter, a Jew at Jerusalem, the Jews, telling them what the name of the field was in the Jewish language. So Peter is telling these Jewish people what the name of the field was that Judas bought. And he's telling them in the Jewish language that the name in the Jewish tongue is Asel Dama or Dama. But as their proper tongue, so the issue is the language, their native language was a language that none of the natives have ever heard of. So the natives had never heard of their name. You understand what he's saying? In other words, they were speaking a foreign language than their ancestors. So why would Peter be talking about this Jewish language and giving them the name of the land in the Jewish tongue? You follow me?
You mean in the Hebrew tongue, or I'm reading too
No,
much?
yeah, that's what he means. He means Hebrew tongue. But the author is saying that they were not speaking Hebrew.
Well, of course I'm gonna, because I don't find that things contradict, even when on the surface they seem like they do. But I do, as far as what I've learned, our people were spread everywhere. Some of them were speaking Greek because that's the area where they lived, where they grew up. So I don't know at what point we lost our Hebrew. Um, well, yes, I do, at the Tower of Babel. A lot of us lost our Hebrew language, but just fast forward, forget all that. And so, from what I've learned, we were wherever we were spread, because we're spread to the four corners of the earth. And even at that time, some of us had, I'm guessing, I'm just guessing, I'm not saying it's true, had lost our native language. So when Peter was talking to some of them, he had to um, speak to them in Greek or wherever, whatever tongue they were. They usually, it was either Greek or whatever language. I don't know. Um, am I? Is that crazy?
Yeah. No, let me read this paragraph and then we'll go into the other one, the next one, because I think it answers what we're
Okay.
looking. Okay, so nothing incompatible with the character of historical consistency has ever yet been observed by the childish understandings of the four. Oh, I see what he's saying. These are 40 and 50-year-old babes, and they can't tell what happened, what really happened in history and what has not happened in history. They can't tell it. You follow me?
Okay.
Right. So nothing incompatible with the character of historical consistency has ever yet been observed by the childish understanding of the 40 and 50-year-old babes in Christ Jesus. So they don't know what's historical and they don't know what's not historical. That's what he's saying. In the circumstance of Peter, now he's going to give an example to show what he's talking about, right? In the circumstance of Peter, a Jew at Jerusalem, preaching to the Jews, telling the Jews that the name of the field in the Jewish language that it was called in their proper tongue, which he's calling the Jewish language or Hebrew. Okay, the name of the field is Asodama. But as their proper tongue, but as Hebrew, which was their native language, was a language that none of the natives had ever heard of. So none of the natives have ever heard the Hebrew language, according to the author. He kindly, that's Peter, Peter kindly condescended to translate the name of the field into plain English, Asodama. That is to say, the field of blood. That's it. That's how it's that's what he's saying. How sublimely accurate is scriptural chronology. Okay, so the author is saying, well, wait a minute, there's a problem. He's being sarcastic. There's a problem with the chronology here. The field had got a name from the transaction before the transaction had taken place. There's a problem with the chronology. The field was called the field of blood before Judas Iscariot bought it. That's the chronological problem. It was a matter of very high antiquity. That means it was very old. When it had occurred within the last fortnight. And it was known to all of them that dwelt in Jerusalem. Everybody knew. When all of them that dwelt at Jerusalem knew no more about it than it knew about them. But why, above all things which Judas might have bought, should he have bought a field? Well, that's a darn good question, right? Why you go buy land and you're considering killing yourself? Unless he was going to give the land to his heirs, right? But he doesn't say he had heirs to give anything to. But you do have to ask, why did he buy a field, right? That's a good question, right? Scholars? Okay. And why above all deaths with which Judas might have chosen, should he have chosen to hang himself? So what are we seeing the author do? The author right now is being critical. He's engaging in criticism. He's doubting everything and believing nothing, asking questions so that the answers to the questions will determine whether or not he will accept something as true, reasonable, probable, fact, as evidence. And if the answer to these questions are, they have no answer, or if it's ridiculous, he's gonna not deal with it because it's not logical. So he's showing us examples of critical thinking, asking questions, being doubtful, criticism. Let's continue. And why should his buying a field cause him to fall headlong? That was my question. And why should falling headlong cause his bowels to gush out? That was also my question. And why should the field be called Asodama? And why was he called, and I don't know what this Greek says, y'all, but why was he called this Greek word or phrase? And why was that same Greek word or phrase also called Iscariot? So in other words, why was Judas called Iscariot? Okay. All right. Let me rephrase that. And why, let me repeat that for the record. And why was this Greek word, and why was he, that is Judas Iscariot, called this Greek word? And why was this Greek word or phrase also called Iscariot? And why was this Greek word, Iscariot, also called the son of Simon? The bringing forth of the latent astronomical sense will solve all these questions. Okay, so Gary, here we're going to get into the astrological understanding. This is getting good, y'all. I want to see how astrology or astronomy answers these questions. I got to see this. All right. So he's got my attention, y'all. He's got my attention. Judas is the same name as Judah. Okay, now these are the author's assertions, right? Let me get my page number. Hold on. Give me 1 second. Okay, Judas is the same name as Judah, which is the name of one of the 12 tribes of Israel. Iscariot is the same as Iscazar, which is another of the names of the 12 tribes of Israel. Iscazar is the 6th of the 12 tribes of Israel, answering to Cancer the crab. So I guess he's saying that the 6th zodiac sign is Cancer the crab, of the month of June, in the center of the constellation of the stars called the Asses, A-S-S-E-S, which gives us the clear astronomical solution of that extraordinary blessing which Israel pronounces upon the 12 patriarchs, applying to Iscazar in the 49th chapter of Genesis. The words, quote, Iscazar is a strong ass, couching down between two burdens, and he saw that rest was good, and the land that it was pleasant, and the bold his shoulder to bear, and became a servant unto tribute, end quote. Hey, y'all, isn't this one of the verses that they use for the Hebrew Israelite? What do they call that the tribes, the 12 tribe chart? Don't they use that for the 12 tribe chart, this verse? Somebody confirm that in the chat, please.
I confirm it.
Okay, excellent. Let's go and look at some of these comments before we move forward. Jerry says, awesome, gotta get this book. Excellent. Gary Tucker says, you can download it free in PDF form. Roderick's point of view says, if you study Greek history, every land that they conquered, they forced everyone in the conquered land to learn to speak Greek. Good point. Darrell-El says, English was not around for Peter to speak. Excellent.
Amen, Darrell-El.
Excellent point, Darrell-El. Excellent. Great comments, y'all. All right, let's go back to the reading. Yeah, so this is one of the 12 tribes, the verses used in the 12 tribes chart. So according to the author, this has astronomical significance. So does that mean it has anything to do with the 12 tribes charts? Well, I don't know, right? We just keep reading and see what we come up with.
I can tell you another meaning.
Okay, yeah, go ahead, please.
And of course it's argued. Can you go back? Can you go back to where you read that? I know why it's on the 12 charts, because it's that word that I tell you all the time, Yisapa, prophecy. And Issachar is a strong ass couching down between two burdens, ... Okay. It's speaking of how Issachar, who we, as Hebrew Israelites or whatever, we see them today. It was prophetic. He was telling his 12 sons how they're going to be in the last days, what they're going to be, where they're going to be, what they're going to be doing. And this is who we call today the Mexicans. And they're pretty hard workers. I hope I'm not feeding into, or I'm saying it right so that it don't seem like I'm being stereotypical. And the jobs that some of us won't do. They'll do them for less pay, of course, but they will. And that's why it's saying they became a servant unto tribute. So it, to me, just like all the other ones that are named, when you go back and read, Judah is this, Naphtali, you are this, Issachar, you are this. There's, I think it's chapter 49 of Genesis. I'm not sure, don't quote me on that, but it goes through what all of them, or it has a little blurb like this, it has about Issachar, but all of them are pretty much telling what each of those tribes are going to be doing in the last days. So I just thought I would put that, make sure I put that point out there as far as how the Hebrew Israelites, at least some of us, see them, because other people are like, that 12 tribes chart is a bunch of lies or whatever. But okay, go ahead.
Okay, excellent. All right, so I'm going to continue reading. Let me check the chat first to see if anybody made any comments about that before I move forward, because he's going to get into his explanation next. All right, I don't see any new comments. All right. So let's go back to it. I'm going to begin reading. We are here at the top of the page, the highlight. We're here, top of the page. Now, here is the strong ass, which is Issachar. Well, did I pronounce that right?
Issachar?
Yeah. Now, here is the strong ass, which Issachar, without any intended affront, is literally said to be, and which strong ass in an inferior and earlier state of astronomical observance. So Issachar is said to be a strong ass relative to some astronomical state, right? In other words, you can see the strong ass astronomically. I'm assuming he's talking about the celestial globe that we looked at several videos ago, okay, y'all? Now, here is the strong ass, which Issachar, without any intended affront, is literally said to be, and which strong ass in an inferior and earlier state of astronomical observance would give its name to the whole constellation. So I'm assuming that the strong ass, the name is given to the whole constellation, which, by taking in a great many of the surrounding stars, is now enlarged into the constellation of Cancer. Okay? Is now enlarged into the constellation of Cancer, the crab of the month of June. Okay, so we're in June. So June, y'all, would be 12 o'clock. Sun is always at zenith in June, right? June 21 or June 24, one of them. This ass, that strong ass, is said to couch down between two boundaries, as it stands precisely on the line that bounds the two halves of the zodiacal year. All right, so y'all see that? So that would be 12 o'clock, right? The small hand on 12, the big hand on 6, right? So 6 zodiac signs on the left side of that line, 6 zodiac signs on the left side of the line, okay? So let me read it again. This ass, the strong ass, is said to couch down between two boundaries. That's 12 o'clock, as it stands precisely on the line that bounds the two halves of the zodiacal year. So that would be a vertical line, 6 o'clock, the left half and the right half, both having 6 zodiacs on each side. Quote, and he saw that rest was good, and he saw that rest was good, end quote. The sun, having reached his point, is said to be at the summer solstice. That's the zenith, the sun at the highest point of the sky in June, right? Summer solstice. Okay, where it seems to be perfectly stationary. For several days, it seems to be perfectly stationary, as if it would wish to rest in that state. So the sun is there for several days. It's looking like it's chilling, rested. It ain't going nowhere. It's chilling. That's what he's saying. All right. Quote, for he saw the land, that's the sun, at zenith, and it's resting, look like it ain't going nowhere. He's chilling. For he saw the land that it was pleasant, end quote. The whole earth never appearing more delightful than in the month of June. Of course, that's because the sun is at zenith. You have many, that's a maximum number of hours of sunlight for the whole year. Everybody's happy, right? The days are long, the nights are short when the sun is at its zenith. Next paragraph. But this Iscariot of the old covenant, this Iscariot of the new covenant, that is this jackass, between the two boundaries of the old astronomy, this backsliding crab of the new, right? That's the crab, that's Cancer in June, standing at the sun's highest point of ascension, that's the zenith, 12 o'clock on the celestial globe, betrays him with a kiss. Y'all got that? The jackass betrays him with the kiss. Let me read it again. But this Iscariot of the old covenant, this Iscariot of the new, that is this jackass, between the two boundaries of the old astronomy, this backsliding crab of the new, standing at the sun's, that's the sun, highest point of ascension, betrays him with the kiss. Judas betrays the Christ figure with the kiss. He gets him up into the large upper room, then which he can go no higher. So he gets him up in the large upper room. He can go no higher. The sun is at its zenith. It can go no higher, right? Everybody follow that. The supper was in that high upper room. They could go no higher in that building. The sun can go no higher in the celestial globe. He gets him up in the large upper room, then which he can go no higher, and then gives him to understand that down he must come. So the sun is at its highest point at 12 o'clock. After June, I think it's June 21st or 24th, the sun begins to decline. It gets lower and lower and lower and lower until it reaches its lowest point in the celestial globe, which is again, small hand on 12, large hand on 6. That date would be December 21st and 22nd when the sun is at its lowest point in the celestial globe. That's called the declination. Okay. All right. This is what the author is talking about. Next paragraph. The astronomical chronology being beautifully veiled, being beautifully hidden, the astronomical chronology being beautifully hidden in the allegorical picture. The allegorical picture is the story of the Christ figure and Judas, right? The betrayal, which represents to us that immediately when Judas went out, that is the latter end of the month of June. Okay, that's because you're going into a different zodiac sign, right? June, July, you're going into a different zodiac sign. Okay, when Judas went out, that is the latter end of the month of June, then said the Christ figure of the allegory, open parentheses, that is the sun, S-U-N, in the visible heavens. So, all right, y'all got that? The Christ figure is the S-U-N in the visible heavens. Quote, now is the Son of Man, that's S-O-N, now is the Son of Man clarified, and capital G-O-D is clarified in him. If capital G-O-D be clarified in him, capital G-O-D shall also clarify him in himself, and shall straightway clarify him. Is that where they get that name, Straightway Ministries?
I don't know.
I just saw that. I just saw. Oh, y'all didn't see none of that stuff I was reading. It says Straightway. You see where it says Straightway right there? You said that? I never made the connection. I don't know if that's where they get it. You see Straightway?
Uh-huh.
I
Yep.
don't know. Okay, so if capital God be clarified in him, capital God shall also clarify him in himself, and shall straightway clarify him, little children, end quote. That is to say, there's for you, little children, there's your favorite game. There is, quote, riddle me, read. None are so blind as those that won't see. I don't have a clue what he's talking about. What about you in this last paragraph? I understand what he said up until I understood what he said up until he got here. The Son of Man clarified. I'm not making the connection as to what this has to do with this. So maybe we should continue reading.
Okay.
What are your thoughts?
I don't have any thoughts on that. Nothing that I need to share with everybody else, you know.
Okay, so I'll continue reading. Can you make out those? Okay, so but let the little children, the babes and the sucklings, okay, I guess these are the 40 and 50-year-olds that he was talking about. But let the little children, the babes and sucklings of the gospel, show wit enough to unriddle me their riddle. And I myself will put on a pin of 4 and go to school again to the infant academy in Silver Street. Wow, he's being real condescending and sarcastic. Would you agree?
Yes, I would.
And I want to know how the Son of Man, that's the SON, could be clarified straightway, but in no other way than the straight way. Had it been in the crossway or the reverse way or the crooked way, there would... He's funny.
Wow.
I can see how a lot of Christians would get angry about this book. I can see it. He's almost making a mockery when he says things like that.
Uh-huh.
But I don't think he is. I think he's asking legitimate questions. For example, why straightway as opposed to crossway, as opposed to reverse way? You know what I mean? But I don't know his motives.
Me either.
Okay, so let's continue. So, or the reverse way or the crooked way. There would have been some grievous error in the reckoning. All right. Okay, so he's saying whether you go straight way, crossway, it makes a difference, right? Because it can be an error. So why straight way as opposed to the other? Okay, so he says the answer, because the apparent path of the sun, SUN, through the visible heavens is within the perfectly straight band of the tropics. Wow, you get that? The vernal equinox, the autumn equinox, Tropic of Cancer and Capricorn, they're horizontal lines, right? So that's straight way. You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Are
It's
you offended?
amazing to me. I'm listening to him and all that he's bringing forth. It's just amazing to me how, I mean, on both ends, how Christians, Hebrew Israelites can line all this stuff up, some better than others, and how it's all lining up, how he's how he's bringing it forth. That's just amazing to me. Better be convinced in your own mind, I tell you that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
when you when you're getting hold to some of the all of the information that's out there, it's enough to drive some people crazy. It literally does.
Mm-hmm.
Especially the people who, we were talking earlier about being, you know, have being sucked into the cults or cult mindedness, and they get stuck somewhere and they end up, you know, crazy, schizophrenic.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, go ahead, please.
Okay, great. Next paragraph. And why should this clarification have happened in no other place than in that large upper room? Answer. Because the sun's, S-U-N, most transcendent beauty and brightness are attained when it reaches the Tropic of Cancer. That is, at the moment when he kisses Iscariot, or which is the same thing when Iscariot kisses him. Okay. And why should this clarification have happened in no other place than in that large upper room? Well, that makes sense to me. Answer, because the sun's most transcendent beauty and brightness are attained when he reaches the Tropic of Cancer. Tropic of Cancer, that's the strong ass, right? That we talked about. That's Iskasar, right? That's Iskasar. You remember what we just read in the paragraphs a little bit ago? Judas
Mm-hmm.
is the same name as Judah, which is the name of one of the 12 tribes of Israel. Iscariot is the same as Iskasar, which is another of the names of the 12 tribes of Israel. Iskasar is six of the 12 tribes of Israel, answering to Cancer, the crab of the month of June, in the center of which constellations are the stars called the asses. So now we understand why he's in the large upper room. Okay, so why the large upper room? Answer, because the sun's most transcendent beauty and brightness are attained when he reaches the Tropic of Cancer. That's Judas, right? Iscariot, Iskasar. That's when the sun is the most beautiful and the brightest. Why should this clarification have happened just at no other time than when Judas was going out? Answer, because that is the exact allegorization of the latter end of June. So Judas is going out, right? He's leaving the large upper room. The sun is leaving Cancer, right? Because, and then it's going into the next zodiac. We just read that in the paragraph above. And why should Judas hang himself? Answer, because all the 12 apostles are hanged as well as he, each self-suspended from the vaulty arch of the night. That's a celestial globe, right? The stars are hanging on nothing. Again, let me read it again. And why should Judas hang himself? Answer, because all the 12 apostles are hanged as well as he, each self-suspended from the vaulty arch of night, where you may see them, each hanging in his particular field or portion of the heavens, where they retain their fixed positions, and where the righteous, not figuratively, but literally, do shine as the stars in the kingdom of their Father. Okay, so now I just made a connection. Remember when he said all of the apostles were scrapping because they wanted those 30 silver pieces?
Who, me?
Yeah. I'm talking to everybody. Earlier on, when we first started, he said that the apostles all wanted some of those, they all wanted the 30 silver pieces, and that Simon Peter got mad because Judas got the 30 silver pieces for betraying the Messiah. Well, they're all hanging. They all would have got hung for the betrayal, right? Because all the stars are already hanging. Maybe that don't make sense. That's just what came to my mind. And why did Judas hang in the skies, as all the rest of them are, after betraying his master? That is, having led him up to the point from which his fall commences. Remember? The sun at zenith, it has nowhere to go but down now. From which his fall commences, himself fall headlong. And then he gives the Greek phrase. That is, become prone, Prone, answer. Because the sun has passed through the constellation itself seems to be tumbling down. That's a question. So the question is, remember y'all, so why is it that he's hung and then falling headlong? And why, when Judas has become prone headlong, did all his bowels gush out? Answer. Because when the constellation through which the sun, S-U-N, has passed, by the sun's, S-U-N, passing onward, seems to emerge or come out on the other side. So in other words, it entered into the constellation, the zodiac sign Cancer from one end, and it came out the other end or the other side, right? Going into the seventh zodiac sign. Okay? Answer, because when the constellation through which the sun has passed, that's the S-U-N, by the sun's passing onward seems to emerge or come out of the other side. The stars of which it is composed appear much fainter than they were, as if the sun, in going over them, had trampled out their fires. So in other words, the sun is so bright that the brightness of the sun made those stars shine a little bit less, so they were more difficult to see. And why, when Judas goes out, is the Son of Man clarified? And when the Son of Man is clarified, capital G-O-D is clarified in him. And when capital G-O-D is clarified in him, capital G-O-D returns the compliment by clarifying him in himself. That's a question. My capital G-O-D, yeah, I agree with you. That's a mouthful with what we just went through, y'all. Why or how is all of this but that clear and universal meton, I pronounced this before, metonymai. That's right, it's metonymai. Okay, let me repeat it again. Why or how is all this but by that clear and universal metonymai, which obtained exactly in the pagan mythology as it does in Christianity. So there's a pagan mythological story behind this, according to the author. And he continues, whereby each of the 12 great lowercase gods was in a substituted and spoken of and invested with all attributes of any other and of all the rest, each in its turn, which considered as capital L-O-R-D of the ascendant, was the one supreme and only capital L-O-R-D. Duodotheism was perfectly consistent with monotheism. Okay, so duodotheism, all right, duodotheism. This is the mythology. The same deity that was lowercase God in summer, right? Summer, June is in summer, became the devil in winter. So y'all remember when the sun is at its zenith, it is the Christ. That's when the sun is at the summer solstice, it is Christ. JC, Jesus Christ. When the sun is at its lowest point, December 21st, 22nd, that is Satan the devil, because the celestial globe is boundless at 6, well, with the big hand pointing at 6 and the sun at its lowest position, that is said to be the bottomless pit because it has no bottom. Okay? So when the little hand is at 12, the big hand is pointing at 6. That's a straight line, right? 12 o'clock, above 12 o'clock, that's the zenith. That is the Christ figure. That's JC. 6 o'clock, that's Satan the devil, the bottomless pit. All right, clear. Okay, it's clear. All right. So let me just repeat that again. The deity was lowercase God in summer, became the devil in winter. Winter, December is in winter, right? In fact, the most hours of nighttime occurred December 21st and 22nd. Quote, and no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. So Satan in December is an angel of light in January, right? It's one straight line. So Jupiter was often turned into Apollo back again into Jupiter, the rule of orthodoxy being, and they give us this Greek word. So we're gonna, let's see. There is then no more real contradiction in there being 12 persons in one capital God, each by himself being separately and distinctively the one true and only capital God. Then in there being 3 persons in one capital God in the Christian Trinity. So the author is saying that these 12 zodiacs, they also make up the deity, right? Just as equally as the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost make up the Christian deity, right? So remember, we're talking about duotheism and monotheism, okay? It being the same sun, S-U-N, through the whole year round, though there be a January sun, S-U-N, a February sun, S-U-N, and so on. And it is the same sun, S-U-N, which was the January sun, S-U-N, which is now the March sun, S-U-N, and will be the July and August sun. In other words, the sun is always going to be the same sun, okay? All right, so now let's see. I think this is going to be the last paragraph. And you will find as many distinct moral characters of your own Christ figure in your gospel allegory as there are physically varied phenomena of the sun, S-U-N, in passing through the 12 months of the year. For, quote, these, as they change, Almighty Father, these are but the varied capital God, the rolling year is full of thee. All right, so what is he saying? I think what he's talking about is every zodiac, there are 12. Each zodiac has its own characteristics and attributes. So when the sun, S-U-N, enters into one zodiac sign, he takes on those characteristics, those attributes, okay? That morality. When he goes into the next zodiac sign, he takes on the characteristics and attributes of that zodiac sign. And that represents or projects a certain morality. That's what the author is talking about. So I think we can stop there, page 175. What do you think, Ashar? If you're still awake, that was quite a bit, y'all. That got quite complicated. Are you awake or are you sleeping?
I'm awake.
Oh, that was quite complicated, right? You agree or disagree?
I don't think it was complicated if you've been not you, but well, me, if I had been following all along from the beginning when you first started talking about the astrotheology, yeah,
Okay,
but
excellent.
it's interesting.
Okay, so Darrell-El says is a car. His pronunciation is a car. Thank you, Darrell. That's an easy way to do it. Thank you. Let's see, Roderick's point of view. Okay, this is speaking about the Scorpio sign that is going into Scorpio sign. And when a scorpion stings you, it looks like a pair of lips. The stings look like a kiss. Judas betrayal. Yeah, I've heard that too. And that sounds very reasonable too, actually. I've heard that also. Have you heard that, Sean? Yeah, I've heard that, and it sounds reasonable. I don't know where I've heard that before, though, but I've definitely heard that. All right. So, y'all, I'm tired. I've been talking too much. So I want to invite you all to the 506 Curses course. If you have the time, drop by, visit with us. It's a live online class. You're going to learn a lot. We have a great group of scholars. I'm sure you're going to like them. It's a very, very good class. Trust me, you're going to learn a lot. You're invited Saturday, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Saturday, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The link is in the description box. Also, I want to invite y'all to subscribe to the 101 Ancient Ibriath course, okay? It's a streaming course, and you will definitely be thankful that you actually subscribe to this course. It's tremendous, all right? This is going to take you back to reclaim your heritage, the Ibriath, your language. Of course, the culture is in the language, all right? So I go through this every time. I'm not going to read through it, but this is a streaming online course, and you can do it wherever you want, okay? It's $1 for 1 day trial, $10 a month to subscribe, cancel anytime, no contract. You're going to get your vocabulary words here. If you scroll down, you'll see where to subscribe. But then, so here you are, you see it's just $1. This is basically free, y'all. It's basically free. Try to buy something like this at a synagogue or a Hebrew university, which is not even Ibriath, and they're going to charge you thousands and thousands. You can believe that. Now you can see the syllabus if you scroll down further, part 1, part 2, but I'll leave this up to y'all to go back and scroll through it. ZionLawSchool.org. ZionLawSchool.org. So I want to say thank y'all for spending your time with us. We appreciate it. I had a good time. If you want to support my work, Zion Law School's work, enroll in the courses, well, enroll in 506, the Curses course, subscribe to 101 Ancient Ibriath. We sell a ton of books. We have maybe 7 books in the description area with the links. You can order those. Or if you want to make a donation, you can simply make a donation at our PayPal, which is in the description box. So thank you for spending your time with us. I hope you learned something. If you didn't learn something, I hope it caused you to think about things or in ways that you never thought about things or in ways before. All right. So thanks again. Shar, do you want to say anything before we close out?
It was fun. I'm glad I was a part of it today. That's it.
Okay, excellent. Now y'all get your pencil out because you're gonna have a quiz. Pop quiz. Okay, your students get revenge on you now. All right, so shalom, y'all. See y'all tomorrow, which is Wednesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're gonna do it again. Here's the schedule. All times are Eastern Standard Time. Okay, so Monday 9 p.m., Tuesday 10 p.m., Wednesday 10 p.m., Thursday 10 p.m., Friday 9 p.m., Saturday 8 p.m., and Sunday 2 p.m., all Eastern Standard Times. So that said, Shalawama, we will pick back up on page 175. And if you haven't already done so, download your free copy of The Devil's Pulpit by Reverend Robert Taylor. And if you already downloaded it, if you are able, print it. Print it. It's much easier to get through. So Shalawama, see you all tomorrow. And thanks for all of the comments. Very powerful.